Chapter 420. Moreover, I'm guessing that this bastard isn't your biological child, right? You see, June Mayan was able to give birth to a bastard child with other men back then. Now, she can naturally seduce other people as well. Today's wedding, it's also because she delivered herself to the door, taking the initiative to seduce. Jean Wang's voice suddenly stops, then he lets out ah-ah sounds. However, he can't close his open mouth no matter what. Deming Ju holds the still unconscious Mayan in his arms and steps forward. Ben Jun doesn't like to hear bad things about my fiancé and my son from other people's mouths. Ah. Jean Wang's face is full of pleading, and he keeps making noises to beg for mercy. Just now, he wanted to use words to sow discord between Deming Ju and Jun Mayan. Which man isn't jealous? Which man doesn't want to be exclusive? Knowing that Jun Mayan is hooking up with other men, this man would definitely go mad with jealousy, thus diverting his hatred away from himself. However, his meticulous plan to sow discord didn't succeed. On the contrary, it made him feel real fear. Hanyi, Ben Jun wants Mayan to wake up. There's no need to let Mayan hear those unpleasant words. Yes, Jun Shang. Hanyi smiles merrily as he walks in front of Jean Wang. He lifts the sword in his hand and gently taps it against Jean Wang's teeth that he can't close. Tell me, how can I make you unable to speak and also unable to spew shit? Ah. Jean Wang desperately shakes his head, wanting to retreat. However, his body seems to be bound by an invisible force, completely unable to budge. Oh, these teeth are a bit ugly. Let's break them all first. Ah. There's no use in tongues, just cut them off. Oh, you also seem to have crushed someone else's throat. It'd be better to let you have a taste of what it's like to have your throat crushed. Ah. After a while, all of Jean Wang's teeth fall out, his tongue is cut off, and his throat is crushed. Even the bones in his entire body are smashed inch by inch by Ying Mei. That wretchedness seems to be twice as heavy as Liu Beiyu and Bai Yichen. Ying Mei originally wanted to cover Xiaobao's face to prevent him from seeing such a bloody scene. But Xiaobao resolutely pulled her hand away. This scoundrel injured junior brother and Uncle Rabbit Lantern so badly, and still wants to lay his hands on Mother. I want to see him receive the retribution he deserves. However, Ying Mei was reluctant to let go. After all, he was just a 4-year-old child. Since you are the future successor of the polar domain, if you can't even bear this little bit of bloodshed, how can you bear the future of the 3 realms? In the end, it's Deming Ju's words that make Ying Mei retreat. Just like that, Xiao Bao's eyes widen as he watches Jean Wang turn into a complete and utter cripple. He only faints after tasting hellish suffering. Just then, Deming Ju withdraws his hand from Mayan's wrist. The girl's long eyelashes fluttered as she slowly opened her eyes. Mu Yin feels like she's having a long dream. The dream was grotesque and dazzling, desolate and empty. In her dream, she smelled blood, felt anxiety, and tasted loneliness and fear. He desperately tried to wake up, but he couldn't, until a warm, broad hand clasps her wrist. Her surroundings are clearly still a stretch of desolation, remote and uninhabited, but her body feels like it's being pulled into a familiar embrace. Chapter 421. What kind of energy is this? Is it mysterious energy? No, it's not mysterious energy. It's purer than mysterious energy, and it's not more mellow. It's like a natural spirit that nourishes all things in the world. As soon as it enters her body, it makes her dry meridians moisten like a spring rain, recovering little by little. And what's even stranger is that as this energy rushes in, there seems to be another kind of power inside her body, circulating in her meridians, and finally converging in her lower abdomen. But it's not internal force, and it doesn't converge in her qi. Instead, it's another, more mysterious space, storing energy that she has never felt before. What is it? Why does she feel that this energy is somewhat familiar? It seems that she had also felt it a long, long time ago. A long, long time ago. Thunder rolls in the sky, thunder clouds 10,000 feet high, and her body is burning with pain. However, as the thunder and fire fall, The meridians in her body begin to transform inch by inch. The chi that originally condensed mysterious energy also begins to change, gradually producing another kind of unfamiliar and powerful energy. That's spiritual power. It's the spiritual power that every practitioner in Yinwu continent yearns for, even in their dreams. Mayan suddenly opens her eyes, but she closes them again because of the intense light. The scene in front of her becomes clearer little by little. Nyang Qin. She hears Xiao Bao's voice calling out. There's also the man's low murmur, Mayan. Soon after, two pairs of almost identical eyes come into view. One big and one small, but they're so similar. It's not just that these two pairs of eyes are similar. They're even more similar to those eyes in her memory. In the pitch-black cave, only the contact of their bodies is so hot. Only those eyes are so scorching, as if they're reflecting into her soul. That night that she never wants to recall again. Pain, suffering, chaos, intoxication. The two of them flirting with each other. At that time, it was also this pair of eyes that kept appearing before her eyes. Dimingju's eyes. Why are they so similar to that pair of eyes? Mayan stares at the man's handsome face in a daze, and those deep and serene eyes. She's almost a little silly. No, that's not right. In her memory, those eyes were crimson, berserk, and almost couldn't reflect anything between heaven and earth. Apart from her cherished Xiao Bao, he only brought her that day and night of pain and humiliation. But in the depths of Dimingju's eyes, his own shadow is fully reflected. Even if this man pretended to be cold and arrogant, his sincerity was still in front of her. Mu Yin, what's wrong? Where do you feel uncomfortable? Noticing that Mayan is staring blankly for a long time without any reaction, Dimingju's cold expression finally can no longer be maintained. His eyes were filled with anxiety. Xiao Bao was on the verge of tears. Mother, don't scare me. Mayan coughs a few times, and her pupils finally focus slowly, falling on Xiao Bao's face. Baby? Mother. Xiao Bao fiercely pounces into Mu Yan's arms, tightly hugging her neck, his small body trembling nonstop. In front of Dimingju, she stifled her crying. In Mayan's arms, she finally couldn't help but cry. The little child was soft and sobbing like a kitten. Mother. Xiao Bao thought that he would never see you again. He wasn't wailing or hysterical at all, but it made people's hearts soften as if they were soaking in warm water. Chapter 422. Baby, don't cry. Nyang Qin loves Xiao Bao the most. How could I not see Xiao Bao and leave him? Be good, don't cry. Don't you see that Nyang Qin is fine? On the side, Jun Shang, who especially wants to hold his beloved in his arms and properly express his heartfelt feelings after parting. With great difficulty, Mayan coaxes her son, who rarely cries like a tearful person. When she looks up, she sees the man's gloomy, yet indistinctly resentful and wronged face. She can't restrain her smile from spilling over. She doesn't know a lot of things that happened while she was unconscious, but in the end, Dimingju caught her in the air. This man's stiff, nervous embrace that's almost trembling, she has a hazy impression of it. And when she opens her eyes, she sees the man's frantic and eager expression. It's really too incongruous with his usual callous and unruly appearance. But it's also because of this incongruity that Mayan's heart is so soft, so hot. Dimingju, thank you for coming to save me. Dimingju slightly lowers his eyes to look at her, his complexion finally a little better. But his gaze becomes hotter and hotter. So, are you ready to devote your life to me? Mayan, can this man not devote his life to every 3 sentences? That's right, Nyang Qin. Xiao Bao finishes venting his emotions. He seems to have suddenly thought of something and urgently calls out, Junior brother and Uncle Rabbit Lantern. They're all seriously injured. Mayan is startled and promptly looks towards where Xiao Bao is pointing. When she sees the tormented Liu Beiyu and Bai Yichen, Mayan's eyes suddenly widen. Her breathing almost disappears for a moment, then suddenly becomes heavy. Displeasure and worry flashes through Dimingju's eyes, but he doesn't have time to speak. Mayan's figure suddenly disappears from where she stood and appears next to Liu Beiyu and Bai Yichen. Nyang Qin, are they going to die? Xiao Bao's voice is soft, with a trace of frailty and fear. He's too young. Even if he's calm and mature, he still can't understand true death and separation. But when he thinks that his junior brother and Uncle Rabbit Lantern might disappear from the world forever, his heart feels indescribably uncomfortable. It's like being pressed by a heavy stone. Mayan feeds the draft in her hands to the two unconscious people. After making sure that the two of them have swallowed the drafts, he slowly exhales. Of course they won't die. Mu Yin turns to look at Xiao Bao, her expression focused and resolute. Yang Qin won't allow them to die? Not only will I not allow them to die. Mu Yan's line of sight slowly falls on Liu Beiyu and Bai Yiqian. I want them to completely recover and even live better than before. Hearing Mu Yan's words, Xiao Bao's taut little face immediately softens. Looking at Mayan, his big eyes are full of trust and worship. Since Yang Qin said that Junior Brother and Uncle Rabbit Lantern won't die, then they definitely won't die. Yang Qin has never failed to do what she said. Liu Beiyu and Bai Yiqian absorbed the medicine that confirmed the mysteries of maintaining life. Mu Yin then takes out her silver needles and inserts them into several major acupoints. Her heart felt like it was being gripped tightly by something painful and regretful, because she knows that Liu Beiyu and Bai Yiqian have fallen into such a plight because of her. However, her hands were very steady. There was not the slightest deviation in each needle. Chapter 423. The only thing she had to do now, the only thing she could do, was to race against time to snatch them back from the hands of the Grim Reaper. Give them a perfect future. Following the insertion of the silver needles, Mayan seems to have entered a mysterious realm. In the wedding banquet hall of Jin Wangfu, there are still a lot of people who are scared out of their wits, shivering with fear. Xiao Bao and Di Mingju are nervously concerned about her safety. Pained and despairing gasps are constantly emitted from Jin Wang's body, which is like rotten flesh. However, she seemed to have forgotten the existence of all these. In her eyes, there were only the silver needles in her hand and the two patients. Unknowingly, the tip of the silver needle was slowly covered with a layer of silver light. Ordinary people would not be able to see that radiance. But when Mei and Hanyi turn their heads and see the fluorescent light on the needle, they're so shocked that their jaws almost hit the ground. That wasn't that spiritual power. But isn't this the Yinwu continent? How could spiritual power be used? Even for them, they have to transform their spiritual power into an energy suitable for the Yinwu continent before they can use it. This also caused their strength to be suppressed to the lowest level on this continent, not even 1/100th of their original strength. But why is Miss June able to use spiritual energy? Although it was only a little bit, it was indeed a genuine spiritual power. Wait a minute. Since when did Miss June have spiritual power? Don't tell me that the 9 stars linked to the moon, the battle of the stars and moon, was really caused by Miss June? She remolded her spirit root in the Yinwu continent. Moreover, it's the moon's spirit root that hasn't appeared for thousands of years, the only one that's compatible with Junshang. Han Yi abruptly turns his head to look at Di Mingju. He couldn't help but shout, Junshang. However, his voice stopped abruptly. The shock on his face was slowly replaced by a strange, complicated, and hopeless look. Not far away, their Junshang is holding the little master. His eyes stare unblinkingly at Mayan, who is applying the needles. 2 pairs of beautiful blue eyes that are almost exactly the same. Even the emotions blooming in them are exactly the same. Infatuated and proud. Xiao Bao. Mother is really omnipotent. Yang Qin is unrivaled when she's serious. Junshang. Of course the woman that Bin Jun has chosen is powerful. Yin Yin is really delicious when she's serious. Han Yi. He felt like he could read the meaning in the eyes of the adult and the child. But Junshang, you, as the master of the polar domain, the monarch that everyone in the Xiuxian continent revered and feared, is it really good for you to show such an idiotic expression? On this side, because Mu Yin wants to save Liu Beiyu and Bai Yiqian at the best time, she's completely immersed in her own world. On the other side, Qing Feng had already retreated step by step to the corner of the wall. Taking advantage of the few people not paying attention, he suddenly flipped over and jumped out of the window. Qing Feng heaved a sigh of relief when he noticed that no one had noticed him. Then, his eyes suddenly became extremely gloomy. His uncle master, who was a Xintian cultivator, was killed just like that. Who were these people? And that Jun Mayan actually has such frightening medical skills? Bai Yichen and Liu Beiyu are clearly beyond saving. But they've only taken a bottle of draft and been pricked with a few needles, and they've regained their vitality. Last night, he was also in the city and saw the 9 stars and moon phenomenon. At that time, he always felt that the brightest spot in that vision was right above Jin Wangfu. Could it be that the person who caused this phenomenon was Mayan? Chapter 424. He even asked his master for a medicine that could control a person. The more Qing Feng thought, the more he felt that his guess was correct. As long as he told this news to his master, he would definitely be very happy. Qing Feng held his breath and restrained his breathing. Profound qi poured into the soles of his feet, and he was about to leave silently. However, just as he took a step forward, suddenly, a gust of wind swept past his eyes. Then, a huge dull pain came from his chest. His entire body was instantly forced into the air, and he was sent flying dozens of meters away. With a loud bang, the window he had just jumped out of was smashed into pieces. Several of Qing Feng's ribs were also broken. In the end, he fell heavily to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Ingmei slowly walked in from outside, looking down at Qing Feng, who was moaning on the ground. He sneered. Jun Shang and young Miss didn't say you could leave. You actually had the guts to sneak away? The guests in the banquet hall who had wanted to sneak away were so scared that their faces turned ashen and they almost fainted. Fortunately, they had not yet taken action. Otherwise, they would be the ones lying on the ground vomiting blood. We were only invited by Jin Wang to attend the wedding. We really don't know anything. Sob. Spare us. I am the 7th prince of the state of Huang Yao. Who are you? If you touch me, you won't have a good ending. Sounds of begging and threats could be heard from time to time. But Han Yi and Ing Mei turn a deaf ear to it. Their expressions don't even change. Only when someone wanted to escape would Ing Mei's sword be unsheathed. It directly terrified these people to the point their souls almost flew out of their bodies. They were afraid that their lives would be lost in the hands of these fiends. Qing Feng spits out the bloody foam in his mouth, fiercely glaring at Ing Mei and Han Yi. Do you know who I am? I am a disciple of the Tiandao sect, and my master is Jin Feng. If you dare to attack me, do you know the consequences? Tiandao sect? Sword Edge? What the hell is that? Han Yi and Ing Mei's expressions still don't have the slightest change, although they usually didn't show it, but for people who came from the Shoshin continent, they knew that they were different. In the Yinwu continent, besides Miss June and the Little Master, everyone else is no different from ants. What Huangyao country's royal family? What Tiandao sect? What Huangyao country? However, when Little Bao heard Qing Feng's words, he suddenly stood up. You're from Tiandao sect? Qing Feng looked at Xiao Bao and let out a proud smile. That's right. I'm the disciple of the heavenly Dao sect's pill-cultivating grandmaster, Jin Feng. Little Gongzi, do you know people from Tiandao sect? Han Yi asks, beaming. Xiao Bao slowly walked in front of Green Maple, then slowly shook his head. I don't know him, but I know that Mother hates the people of Tiandao sect, and she hates that person called Jin Feng even more. Although Mu Yin rarely mentions hatred in front of Xiao Bao, but Xiao Bao is most sensitive to Mu Yan's emotions. How could he not be aware of his mother's hatred towards the Heavenly Road sect, Gong Qinxue, and Jin Feng? Oh, since Miss hates them, then just kill them, Ing Mei said. Han Yi strokes his chin. Since Miss hates him, wouldn't it be too easy for him to kill him directly? It's better to be like Jin Wang and smash all his teeth and bones. Let's see if his bones are harder than Jin Wang's. All right, let's do that. Ing Mei nodded. Chapter 425. Do you know what you're doing? I am a disciple of the Tiandao sect. If you offend the Tiandao sect, you will no longer have a foothold in the continent. You guys don't mess around. Han Yi reveals a sinister smile, the sword in his hand slowly tapping against his palm. Step by step, he walks towards Qing Feng. Even the pre-celestial Jin Wang doesn't have the strength to fight back when facing these two people. Not to mention Qing Feng. His face was contorted with extreme fear, and then he glanced at Xiao Bao. It suddenly became ferocious and vicious. Before Han Yi and Ying Mei could react, Qing Feng suddenly jumps up. He grabbed Xiao Bao. A cold light flashed in Qing Feng's hand, and a saber appeared in his hand. He held it horizontally in front of Xiao Bao's neck. Don't come any closer. If you dare, I'll kill this little bastard. As expected, Han Yi and Ying Mei stop in their tracks. However, they did not reveal any nervousness on their faces. Instead, they looked at him condescendingly with eyes full of pity and disdain. Qing Feng's heart gave birth to a trace of panic for no reason. The hand holding the knife moved even tighter to Xiao Bao's neck. I'm not joking with you. If you dare to act blindly without thinking, I will immediately cut off this little bastard's neck. Who are you calling, little bastard? A clear and melodious female voice suddenly rang out. Qing Feng abruptly turns his head, only to see Mu Yin, who had just been treating Bai Yichen and Liu Beiyu's injuries, stand up in surprise. Her jet-black hair draped over her back, and her fiery red wedding dress set off her snow-white complexion. A pair of watery peach blossom eyes that shimmered like rippling waves seemed to be squinting yet not squinting, and it was amorous and graceful, making the young girl seem even more charming and peerless. However, when Qing Feng faced such a face, not only did he not lose his mind in the slightest, he instead felt a bone-chilling fear rise from his spine. He watched as the girl walked towards him step by step in her delicate red embroidered shoes. Beads of sweat dripped from Qing Feng's forehead, and the hand holding the saber was trembling. Don't come over. This little bastard is he your son? If he died, you would be very sad. So you better know your place. Ask them to move aside and let me out. Mu Yan's eyes were filled with a cold, killing intent, but the corner of his mouth hooked up into a cold and mocking smile. Is that so? Trying to kill my son? You can give it a try. Qing Feng sees that Mayan's steps haven't even paused for a single step, and he doesn't have a way out. His face finally revealed a ferocious expression. You forced me to do this. Even if I die, I'll make that little bastard pay with his life. He tightened his grip on the hilt of the sword. He chopped down viciously at little Bao's snow-white and fragile neck. The fear in his eyes had turned into a cruel madness. His mind is filled with the image of this fragile little life being decapitated in his hands, and Mayan's crazed expression of pain. However, when his hand chopped down fiercely, the expected scene of the sharp blade piercing into the flesh and blood splattering everywhere did not appear. Qing Feng's hand seemed to have been bound by something, rigidly pausing in midair, unable to advance or retreat in the slightest. What was restraining his hand was a chubby, fair, and tender little hand that could only hold onto half of his wrist. Qing Feng's entire body stiffened, and he slowly lowered his head. Then, he came face to face with little Bao's icy blue eyes and delicate facial features. A mocking sneer slowly appeared on his handsome little face. Then, her slender fingers exerted force. Chapter 426. His hand loosens, and the blade falls to the ground with a clang. He couldn't bear it any longer, and lets out a miserable howl like a pig being butchered. Han Yi clicks his tongue and sighs twice. This guy is simply worse than that bullshit Wang Ye. His wrist was just broken by the little master, and he's already howling like this. Qing Feng holds his broken wrist and stares unwaveringly at Xiao Bao, like he's looking at a monster. This is clearly a 4-year-old child. But the internal force that was just transferred to his body is so powerful that he has no power to resist. How can there be such a child in this world? Xiao Bao stoops down to pick up the dagger on the ground. He twirls it in his hand and coldly looks at Qing Feng. Want to kill me? With just you? As soon as the last you comes out, the blade flashes. Qing Feng immediately lets out another scream, and the other hand that was just grabbing Xiao Bao flies up into the sky, blood splattering everywhere. A few drops of blood even splatter on Xiao Bao's body, face, and even lips. Qing Feng couldn't bear it anymore and falls to the ground. He clutches his bloody, broken hand and keeps rolling around, letting out mournful howls. Mu Yin pulls Xiao Bao to her side. She gently wipes away the blood on his face and takes out clean clothes from the space for him to change into. There's an obvious displeasure hanging on his usually careless face. Xiao Bao, you're only 4 years old. Let Nyangqin do this kind of thing like killing people. Moreover, even if you want to take revenge yourself, you shouldn't let blood stain your body, right? Xiao Bao obediently admits his mistake. Nyangqin, Xiao Bao will be more careful when killing bad guys in the future and won't dirty my clothes. The shivering guests surrounding them. Is this a conversation that a mother and a 4-year-old child should have? Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Suddenly, Qing Feng's intermittent laughter comes from the ground. Everyone jumps in fright at this laughter, wondering if Qing Feng has gone crazy because of extreme fear and pain. Only Di Mingju slightly frowns and quickly goes to Xiao Bao's side. He grabs Xiao Bao's little wrist and probes it with his power. His expression suddenly changes. By now, Qing Feng has already sat up, clutching his broken arm. His face is full of madness and resentment. A red light flashes in his eyes, and Xiao Bao immediately frowns. Big beads of sweat roll down from his forehead. A low, muffled groan spills from his mouth. Xiao Bao. Mu Yin jumped in fright and immediately used her profound energy to check on Xiao Bao's condition. But he's stopped by Di Mingju. You can't touch him right now, otherwise if the two forces clash, it will cause damage to Xiao Bao's meridians. What happened to Xiao Bao? Mu Yin could no longer maintain her usual calm and steady demeanor. Her voice was trembling. Xiao Bao couldn't hold on any longer and fell into her arms. He grabbed her sleeve and said in a weak voice, "Mother, it hurts." Mayan opens her mouth, wanting to speak, but the color of her lips fades little by little. She trembles, but not a single sound comes out. She abruptly stood up and thrust the long sword in her hand, ruthlessly nailing the laughing Qing Feng to the ground. "Tell me, what did you do?" Qing Feng screams again. He wants to resist, but Han Ye's sword light flashes, and the leg that Qing Feng kicks out is directly chopped off. "Ah, you can't kill me. If you kill me, that little bastard won't live either. The pain you've inflicted on me, that little bastard will also taste it. Ha 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 ha." Chapter 427. She felt as if her heart was being clenched tightly, and the pain made it difficult for her to breathe. Ha ha ha. Qing Feng laughed even more wildly. "I gave Li Jinting a Wuqi seed, but he didn't know that his Wuqi seed was only a weaker version. The Wuqi seed in my hand is the strongest. Even a Xintian realm cultivator wouldn't be able to resist my Wuqi seed." As Qing Feng spoke, he took out a medicinal pill and poured it into his mouth. The wounds on his hands and feet immediately stopped bleeding. As long as he was alive, there was hope for him to make a comeback. Qing Feng continued, "Just now, I had already consumed the Wuqi seed. When that little bastard chopped off my arm, cough, 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 I purposely let the blood splatter on his face and body. As expected, there were a few drops that splashed into his mouth. Now, he is already my puppet. Under my will, if I want him to live, he will live. If I want him to die, he will die. If you dare to kill me, I will definitely make him accompany me in death. Ha ha." Qing Feng's laughter is incomparably insolent and complacent, but Mayan, Han Yi, and Ing Mei are indeed in a dilemma. If what this person said was true, then Xiao Bao's life could be said to be in his hands. Mu Yin hated being threatened the most, but the one threatening him now was Xiao Bao's life. No matter how much she hated him, she could only endure it. To her, Xiao Bao was everything. "What do you want?" Hearing Mu Yan's soft voice, even if Qing Feng had lost an arm and a leg and was in unbearable pain, he still couldn't help but look up to the sky and laugh. "You want your little bastard to live? Hee hee, then come over here and help me reattach my hands and feet. Aren't you known as the Enchantress of medicine, with unparalleled medical skills? It shouldn't be a problem to reattach the broken limbs, right? If you can't do it, then don't blame me for chopping off your little bastard's arms and legs." There isn't the slightest bit of expression on Mayan's face. The depths of her eyes are as cold as ice that has been frozen for 10,000 years. When Qing Feng saw her face, he couldn't help but shiver. Instinctive fear made his body tremble. But when he remembered that Xiaobao's life was in his hands, he became arrogant again. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and help me fix my hand. Mu Yin takes a deep breath and is about to go over. Suddenly, a weak voice comes from behind. Nyang Qin. Mu Yin abruptly turns her head around and sees that Xiaobao has already climbed up from Di Mingju's arms. His little face was still deathly pale, but the pained expression on his face had disappeared, and his body was no longer trembling. But Di Mingju's expression has already returned to normal. He also stands up and walks to Mayan's side. He hugs her cold and trembling body. Mu Yin wants to go over and hug Xiaobao, but Di Mingju holds her back. Don't worry, with Bin Jun here, would I let anything happen to our son? The man's voice was low, deep, and cold, but strangely comforting. Mayan looks up at him. That pair of peach blossom eyes that were always languid and seductive now rippled with traces of helplessness and panic, causing the usually domineering and careless young girl to be tainted with vulnerability and pitifulness. Di Mingju tightens his grip on her, his voice becoming softer. Don't be afraid, believe me, I won't let Xiaobao get hurt. Strangely, Mayan's heart calms down bit by bit. On Qing Feng's side, when he saw little treasure stand up, he was first taken aback. Chapter 428. Now, come over here. Hearing Qing Feng's words, Xiaobao immediately walks towards him step by step. Little master, you can't go over. Han Yi reaches out his hand, wanting to pull, but Xiaobao nimbly dodges him. Ha ha ha, do you see? He's now my puppet, my slave. I'm his master. I can control his life and death, and I can trample him underfoot at will. As long as I die, he'll only die more miserably than me. You bastard! You actually dare to lay your hands on our little master. Han Yi couldn't bear it any longer and suddenly attacks Qing Feng. Qing Feng jumps in fright, shrieking loudly, if you kill me, this little bastard will also die with me. Han Ye's movements abruptly stop in midair. His man-eating gaze is firmly fixed on Qing Feng's face. Qing Feng's face, distorted from fright, once again reveals a ruthless and sinister smile. He turns to look at Xiaobao. You, go and chop off his limbs for me. Qing Feng's hand points at Han Yi, his eyes brimming with pride and resentment. Han Yi really wants to dismember the person before him into 1,000 pieces. He actually dares to take advantage of the 4-year-old little master. He nervously looks at Xiaobao. If the little master really attacks him, Han Yi absolutely won't resist, even if he'll be seriously injured and forced to return to the Xiaoxian continent. Xiaobao's head is slightly lowered. Because of the pain and drenched in cold sweat, his neatly combed hair has become somewhat messy. Soft jet-black hair hangs down, covering half of his handsome little face. His long eyelashes are like small fans, gently trembling and hanging low, covering the light in his eyes. Only when he hears Qing Feng's order does he slowly lift his head. His big ice-blue eyes are clear, without a trace of confusion or absent-mindedness. But they're as cold as a bottomless cold pond, the bottom of an abyss. Han Yi inexplicably shivers. Then he hears Xiaobao say to Qing Feng, chop off his limbs? It's really a good idea. Then do it now? Qing Feng stares blankly, then he suddenly frowns and roars. I'm telling you to chop off your subordinate's limbs. What are you still staring blankly for? I'm your master. Don't tell me you want to disobey your master's orders? As he shouts, he operates his internal force, stimulating the Wuqi seed within his body. His qi started to heat up. That was a sign that the Wuqi seed was reacting and connecting. Qing Feng immediately revealed a hideous smile. But then, he heard the child's crisp but cold voice. Chop off your remaining foot too. The voice wasn't loud, but it sounded like a clap of thunder. After that, Green Maple felt his body going out of control. The hand with the broken bone picked up a sword with difficulty and slashed it. Qing Feng's remaining leg broke at the base and flew out. His eyes were wide with terror, and he couldn't even feel the pain. He looked at the expressionless Xiaobao and the sword in his hand, and the only thing left on his face was shock and despair. Why? Why are you not controlled by the Wuchi seed? Not only was it not controlled by the Wuchi seed, it could even control the mother goo of the Wuchi seed. How was this possible? He wanted to reverse the order of master and servant of the Wuchi seed. Unless this boy's physique, and aptitude were countless times better than his. Chapter 429. Even if he could really control it, he would inevitably suffer a huge backlash. This is the law of heaven and earth, the survival of the fittest, the most basic difference in levels. Before Qing Feng faints, the conversation between his master and Princess Qianxue suddenly flashes through his mind. What is an immortal fetus? An immortal fetus is a life form that is born to be above all things. They are destined to rule mortals from birth, to rule the world. So they receive the greatest gift of heaven and earth and nature. After eating an immortal fetus, although you still can't be above other humans, you can have the gift of heaven and earth to the immortal fetus. Qing Feng fiercely widens his eyes, desperately trying to see Jun Mayan and Xiao Bao's faces, but his consciousness is slowly drifting away. 4 years old, 4 years ago. Could it be that this child is the immortal fetus that his master wanted to refine for Princess Qianxue? He is a mere mortal. Wanting to control an immortal body through the Wuchi seed is simply a fantasy. How could he not suffer a backlash? If he had known earlier that it was an immortal body, if he had known earlier that attending this wedding banquet would fall into such a state, he would definitely. Qing Feng couldn't hold on any longer, completely fainting. Xiao Bao. Hearing Mayan's call, Xiao Bao, who originally wanted to deal with Qing Feng, immediately turns around and pounces into Mayan's arms. Mayan tightly hugs his small body, her hands clenching so tightly that Xiao Bao almost can't breathe. Xiao Bao, are you all right? Xiao Bao feels that his body is hurting from being hugged, but he doesn't make a sound. Instead, he says in a soft voice, Nyang Qin, Xiao Bao is fine, don't worry. Mayan takes a deep breath, controlling her emotions, and slowly loosens her hands. The worry, panic, and fear on her face fade in an instant, turning into cold seriousness. Jun Machin, don't put yourself in danger again in the future, do you hear me? If you let yourself fall into danger again, I'll spank you. Xiao Bao obediently lowers his head, looking particularly docile and pitiful. The little hand reaches out and grabs his mother's finger, quietly squeezing it. Nyang Qin, Xiao Bao knows his mistake. Don't be angry. Mayan's heart is filled with worry and anger, but in the end, it melts into a soft ball. She takes him into her arms and kisses his cheek. Xiao Bao, you're Nyang Qin's life. If something happens to you, Nyang Qin won't be able to live anymore. Xiao Bao's eyes redden all of a sudden. He tightly holds Mayan's neck, burying his face in her hair, and whispers, Xiao Bao knows. After venting her emotions, Mu Yin stands up and looks at everyone in the banquet hall. Being stared at by the young girl's bright and beautiful eyes, everyone present began to cry pitifully and plead, Don't kill me, don't kill me. Boo-hoo-hoo, Enchantress, spare me. I xiao bao xiao, she xiao. She, of, and is. Of. Xiao bao xiao is. The xiao, and an is a. The xiao of, and an is. R of is R. And an earth. Holy and flawless. It was as if the Empyrean fairy from the 9 heavens had unintentionally fallen into the mortal world. Chapter 430. Deming Ju's face immediately turns black. His figure flashes, and he appears behind Mayan in the blink of an eye. His clothes have already been taken off at some point, firmly wrapping around Mayan's delicate body. The man's voice was full of jealousy. Do you believe that I will dig out everyone's eyeballs here? Han Yi, ending may shiver. Junshang, when you say everyone, it shouldn't include us, right? Mu Yin stares blankly at first, then she can't help but burst out laughing. She doesn't refuse Deming Ju, but instead wraps herself tightly in his clothes. She winks at him. I just hate Li Jinting's clothes. He hated the wedding dress that Li Jinting had put on her. However, she tightens the clothes that Deming Ju draped over her. This kind of closeness, This kind of attitude had already expressed the meaning very clearly. Deming Ju's expression suddenly becomes somewhat stiff. After a long while, he lowly shouts, "Even so, you're not allowed to take off your clothes in front of other men in the future." His roar was a little loud, and his tone was very strict. But Jun Shangdaran, if your ears weren't so red, I'm afraid it would be more convincing. If you want to live, you can. Mayan raises her hand, and dozens of bottles appear on the table. The draft in these bottles is called 3 Days of Lost Soul. The person who takes it will completely forget the memories of the last 3 days. You know too many things that you shouldn't know. You should know very well that I won't let you leave alive with your secrets. Hearing Mu Yan's words, everyone looks at each other. All of them looked hesitant. Who knows if the thing in your bottle is poison? Heh, it's poison. What can you do? Mu Yan revealed a contemptuous expression. Do you still have a choice? Everyone's expressions became incomparably ugly. They were furious in their hearts, but they didn't even have the slightest bit of courage to resist. I will drink. The prince of Huangyao country is the first to stand up and walk over to Mayan. Without hesitation, he takes the porcelain bottle and drinks the draft. Mu Yan smiles faintly and makes a gesture for him to leave. The prince of Huangyao country was originally filled with grief and resentment, but when he saw the charming smile of the young girl, his heart skipped a beat and his face turned red. He ran out as if he was escaping. Seventh prince, wait for me. I want to drink too. The seventh prince's subordinate drinks the draft and also rushes out. He catches up with the seventh prince all the way. After leaving Jin Wangfu for quite a distance, he says with lingering fear, Your Highness, I didn't expect that behind Jun Mayan, there's actually, suddenly, his voice came to an abrupt stop and a blank expression appeared on his face. Shouldn't I be in the palace reporting the situation to His Majesty? Why are you here? The seventh prince also revealed a surprised expression. Why am I here? This kind of situation happens to everyone who leaves Jin Wangfu. There are also a few people from Jin Wangfu who want to fish in troubled waters, pretending to be guests to escape. However, they are seen through by Han Yi and Ing Mei. Han Yi couldn't help but sigh. Miss Jun's alchemy skills are really too amazing. It's one thing to be able to save a dying person, but you can actually make them forget their memories for 3 days. Even in the Xiaoxian continent, very few people can refine this kind of medicine, right? Chapter 431. If that Bai Yichen and Liu Beiyu hadn't met Miss Jun, they would have already become corpses. Only Miss can restore them to their original state. Han Yi blinks in surprise, looking at Ing Mei. Aren't you a little too fond of Miss Jun, too adoring? His words were sour, with a trace of anger and unwillingness. Ing Mei had always been a man of few words, but in order to praise Mayan, he actually said a long string. When he talks about Mayan, his eyes shine even brighter, as if he's infatuated to the bone. Even towards Jun Shang, Little Shadow has never worshipped and loved so much. Could it be that Little Shadow is still thinking about Miss Jun? Thinking of this, Han Ye's heart becomes even more sour. He also doesn't know what's going on with him. When he first found out that Little Shadow liked Miss Jun, he was only worried that Little Shadow would be punished by Jun Shang. But ever since she had seen Little Shadow in women's clothing, what haunted his dreams was actually Little Shadow's cross-dressing figure that day. He had been spending time with Little Shadow these past few days, and he had tried his best to restrain himself so that he wouldn't show any abnormalities. After all, he clearly knew that Ing Mei was a man, and the person he liked was not a man. He was definitely not gay. He was just hopelessly infatuated with Little Shadow in female clothing. If Little Shadow were to find out about such filthy thoughts, not only would he be skinned alive by Little Shadow, he wouldn't even be able to be brothers with Little Shadow. Therefore, Han Yi has been controlling himself very well these days. However, he didn't expect that today, when he heard Little Shadow's undisguised love for Mu Yin, the bit of jealousy in his heart couldn't be hidden anymore. Don't tell me you still like Miss Jun? I'm telling you, stop dreaming. Jun Shang's affection for Miss Jun. Anyone with eyes can see it. If your feelings are discovered by Jun Shang, I'm afraid you won't even know how you died. I'm telling you. You'd better take back your feelings and stay away from Miss June in the future. Ing Mei looks at Han Yi like she's looking at an idiot. Psycho? After saying that, he turned around and left. Hey, wait a minute. Little Shadow, don't go. Listen to me. Jealous men are very scary. You better stay away from Miss June. Do you hear me? In the future, I'll stay close to you and guard you, lest you can't control your feelings and be discovered by June Shang. Han Yi, let go of me. No, I told you. I want to stay close to you and guard you. Han. Night. Roar. It hurts, little Shadow. How could you kick me there? What if I'm crippled? Will you take responsibility? In the evening, Yin Haoyan, Feng Haidang, and Ru Yin bring the people from the ink camp to Jin Wangfu. Mayan had them sweep through the entire Jin Wangfu. The evil that should be eliminated was eliminated, and the treasures that should be plundered were plundered. It can be said that Mayan has been plagued with misfortunes these past few days. In particular, Liu Beiyu and Bai Yichen's serious injuries made her extremely remorseful. He secretly swore to himself that he would be more careful in his actions in the future, and that he would not implicate his friends. Of course, there were also things that made her happy. For example, Jin Wangfu's level of wealth is beyond his imagination. Chapter 432. Old Tao is also very happy. He picks up an ingot and gnaws on it. This Jin Wangfu's storehouse has so many treasures, weapons, armors, and treasures. They must have secretly prepared for a long time, perhaps wanting to rebel. I didn't expect that it would all benefit us now. Mu Yin can't help but reveal a smile. Although Jin Wangye and Gong Qinxue aren't of the same mind, he's also a person of the Heavenly Road sect, and is Gong Qinxue and Jin Feng's senior brother. In this life and the previous life, he might have done a lot of outrageous things. Now, she can take the enemy's supplies to enrich her own strength and finally deal with Gong Qinxue. Of course, she was in a good mood. In addition to the supplies, there are still a lot of people in Jin Wangfu. Apart from the dead soldiers who have already been completely slaughtered, there are also ordinary guards and maids in the Wangfu. There are also those pitiful concubines who were tricked or robbed by Jin Wang, and then casually given to his subordinates. These people's hands aren't stained with blood, and they also don't know what Jin Wangye has done. Mu Yin gives them the opportunity to choose. Either drink the 3 days of lost souls and leave, or join the ink camp in the Tianji unit. Of course, these people can only be regarded as the preparatory camp. In the end, whether or not they can become a member of the ink camp and the Tianji unit still depends on their own performance and character. Ru Yin and Yin Haoyan are very satisfied with the addition of these people. They now know that the person Mu Yin wants to deal with is Jingcheng country's Princess Gong Qinxue. It's unimaginable how many troops and forces a country's princess holds in her hands. Not to mention that Gong Qinxue is also a distinguished disciple of the Heavenly Road sect. She has a powerful great-grandmaster like Jin Feng at her beck and call. Since taking control of the Tianji unit, Ru Yin has sent people to investigate Gong Qinxue's depths. But the more they investigate, the more apprehensive they become. That's because Gong Qinxue's schemes and ruthlessness are far deeper than they imagine. She's clearly just a young woman in her 20s, but the forces she holds in her hands are enormous. And the lives and blood stained on the hands of these forces makes people's hair stand on end. Ru Yin reports to Mu Yin about the gathering of people and supplies. There are a lot of people in Jin Wangfu who are willing to join the Tianji unit, especially Jin Wang's former concubines. Almost none of them are willing to drink the 3 days of lost souls and leave. Furthermore, I've also seen that these people are very talented. I believe that the secret division will be able to obtain more and more information in the future. Mu Yin lightly nodded when she heard this, but she couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Jin Wang is really too deranged. It was one thing for them to bully men and take women, but after he no longer doted on these women, he actually gave them to his subordinates to ravage, completely disregarding their past friendship and the lives of these women. After experiencing such a hellish life, how could these women return to a normal life? Ru Yin continued, the first batch of spies trained by the secret division can already begin their missions. Jingya and I will personally escort them to Jingcheng country's imperial capital and Heavenly Road sect's Star Luo city. Feng Haitang also speaks on behalf of Yin Haoyan. The ink camp will allocate some people to establish branches in Huangyao and Jingcheng. Mu Yan's brows jump. Things can't be rushed. The capital of Jingcheng country can be said to be within Gong Qianxua's sphere of influence. As for Huangyao nation's Tai city, the Tiandao sect was able to cover the sky with one hand. Chapter 433. Ru Yin raises her head, her beautiful face full of determination. We know that Miss really wants to make a move against Jingcheng and Gong Qianxua, but she's afraid that we'll be in danger, so she's been biding her time. But we are following the young Miss to serve the young Mississippi. We are selling our lives for the young Mississippi. How can we let the young Miss accommodate us? Mu Yin frowns. This is a personal grudge between me, Gong Qianxua, and the Heavenly Road sect. You don't need to. Miss business is our business. Ru Yin resolutely and decisively interrupts Mayan's words. Since Gong Qianxua is Miss enemy, then she is also our enemy. Yin Haoyan also knelt down, silent but determined. Feng Haiteng said softly, Miss, you have already given us enough. The draft that defies the natural order, the treatment of the sound of the zither, the improvement that the people of the world yearn for even in their dreams. But it's not just for use, it's for their safety at all times. It's time for us to repay you. The human heart is made of flesh. If the people of the ink camp and the Tianji unit had initially pledged allegiance to Mayan and Xiaobao only for the sake of survival or to seek benefits, but slowly, their hearts were completely skewed. He longed to stay by Miss and Little Master's side for the rest of his life. He longed for this warm big family to never fall apart. Okay. After a long time, Mayan slowly replies, however, you guys should wait a few more days. Wait for me to try refining a batch of elixirs. Everyone who goes out on a mission must bring it along with them. Yes, miss. Ru Yin and the others instantly beamed with joy. Seeing Mayan get up to leave, he promptly bows to send her off. However, Mu Yan's figure has just disappeared outside the door. Old Tao suddenly reacted. Wait, did the young miss just say medicinal pills? Not drafts. Everyone widened their eyes in shock. Pill, 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 pill? Could it be that Miss can already refine pills? After meeting Ru Yin, Yin Haoyan and the others, Mu Yin originally wanted to go back to accompany Xiaobao. However, his emotions were disturbed by this group of people. So she turns around and goes to Liu Beiyu and Bai Yichen's room. Both of their lives had been saved. But the aftereffects were very serious, especially Bai Yichen. Mayan can save his shattered qi through drafts and acupuncture. However, no matter how much Mu Yin thought of a way to restore his crushed throat, she still couldn't restore it to its original state. Bai Yichen's voice was originally as gentle as jade, neither deep nor shrill. It was like a cool breeze, making people who heard it feel very comfortable. But now, it was coarse like an old man on the verge of death. It was incomparably unpleasant to the ears. When Mu Yin enters the room, Bai Yichen is gently stroking the blood veins on Lin Xidong's jade bracelet. Only when he heard the commotion did he raise his head, revealing a calm and gentle smile. Mu Yin felt a bit sour in her heart. I'm sorry, I've implicated you this time. Bai Yichen shook his head and smiled. After hesitating for a moment, he finally opened his mouth and said, Actually, I'm the one who implicated you. If she wasn't concerned about his plans, Mayan would have already made a move against Jin Wangfu. It was impossible for him to put himself in danger. Therefore, if one really wanted to talk about being implicated, then Mu Yin was the one who was implicated by him. His tone was very calm, but Mu Yin could hear the persistence and determination in his words. So, you still plan to take revenge yourself? Bai Yichen nodded without hesitation. Chapter 434. A rough voice jumps out from his lips and teeth, making Mayan unable to not be moved by this man's infatuation and determination. Moreover, she knows that this is Bai Yichen's voice and determination. If he doesn't take revenge, he certainly won't be in danger. However, losing his hatred is tantamount to losing his goal, losing the meaning of living. If you've really made up your mind, then I have a way to let you sneak into the Tiandao sect. Bai Yichen's gloomy eyes suddenly brighten. What way? You should still remember that Qingfeng, right? He's Jian Feng's apprentice. Bai Yichen nods. As long as Qing Feng takes you back to the Tiandao sect and tells Jian Feng and Gong Qinshue that you saved him, do you think Jian Feng and Gong Qinshue will accept you? Bai Yichen opens his mouth, but how could Qing Feng? Mayan can't help but curl up the corners of her lips, revealing a sly smile. Qing Feng wanted to control Xiaobao through the Wuqi seed and turn him into his puppet, but the result was that he became Xiaobao's puppet instead. As time goes by, he will thoroughly submit to Xiaobao and listen to Xiaobao's orders. Even Jian Feng wouldn't be able to see any abnormalities. Bai Yichen's eyes widen, and he doesn't come back to his senses for a long time. After a long time, he stands up and slowly kneels down towards Mayan. Bai Yichen can't repay your great kindness in this life, even if I have to work like an ox or a horse in the next life. I never believe in the next life. Mayan interrupts his rough and laborious speech. Even if she's reborn, she still believes in grasping the present, rather than the illusory past life. If you really feel that you can't repay me, then try to survive after your revenge. Mayan says word by word. I already have the Ink Camp and the Tianji unit, 2 major forces, in my hands. But this is not all. Nowadays, the Ink Camp and the Tianji unit are independent of each other and can't be connected. I still need the Taishu Camp to become the link between the Ink Camp and the Tianji unit, but I still haven't found a person who can manage the Taishu Camp. Bai Yichen, I hope that you can kill your enemy and then survive to become the leader of the Taishu Camp. Bai Yichen, I hope that you can kill your enemy with your own hands and then survive to become the leader of the Taishu Camp. For a long time, he did not get up, nor did he move. The girl's clear yet powerful voice seemed to reverberate in his ears again and again. Bai Yichen abruptly raised his head, only to discover that Mu Yan's figure had already disappeared from the room. He absent-mindedly recalls Mayan's words. I hope you can kill your enemy, survive, and become the leader of the Grand Void Battalion. His eyes slowly lit up with resplendent light. However, he didn't know that Mu Yan, who had finished saying these words, wasn't going to leave by himself. But before Bai Yichen could respond, someone grabbed him by the collar and lifted him up. In the blink of an eye, he was thrown onto the bed. Demingju, Mayan angrily says, do you think I'm a sack? Every time, he would either pick it up, carry it, or throw it away. She struggled to get up, but the man pulled her over and pressed her head down on his lap. Mu Yan suddenly had a bad premonition. Hey, what are you doing? All the dark force in his body surged wildly as he struggled to jump down. However, the man's shackles were impregnable, making her unable to move at all. Chapter 435. A heavy slap landed on her buttocks. Smack! The sound is very loud, and there's a burning pain on her butt. But this isn't the point. Mayan is simply going crazy. Demingju, you bastard, what are you doing? The man's cold voice comes. Didn't you say so? If you're disobedient, you'll be spanked. Mayan, tell me, how disobedient are you this time? Saying that, the second slap falls on her pert butt. Demingju, this damned bastard. Mayan has lived for so long, but she has never felt so humiliated that she wanted to kill someone. When the third slap falls, Mayan's figure flashes, and she suddenly disappears. She doesn't care whether the secret of the Tian Emochin space will be discovered by Demingju. Right now, she just wants to strip off all of this man's clothes and whip him until he kneels down and begs for mercy. Seeing that the girl on his knees has disappeared, Demingju slightly narrows his eyes. There's a dangerous glint in his eyes. Mayan's aura is perfectly concealed, and even Demingju can't feel it. This doesn't just mean that Mayan's strength has increased. It also means that the Tian Emochin space has become more stable because of the restoration this time. However, no matter how stable it is, this little woman absolutely can't escape from the palm of his hand. Demingju slightly closes his eyes, and the power within his body surges. He suddenly reaches out and grabs something in the air. The palm that was supposed to be empty immediately appears with the girl's slender snow-white wrist. His hand exerts force, and with a gentle tug, the girl's body is pulled into his embrace. Mayan is pulled out from the space, but she doesn't panic much. She doesn't know when, but a silver needle appears in her hand. Taking advantage of the moment when Dimingju is restraining her, she pricks the acupuncture point on the side of his waist. The tip of the needle is about to pierce through the man's clothes and into his skin. Dimingju suddenly hugs her tightly and buries his face in her neck. Yin Yin, do you know how scared I was when I found out that you were gone? Mayan's movements suddenly freeze. The man's deep voice is slightly hoarse and trembling. I was afraid that you would leave me, afraid that you would be snatched away, afraid that even though I'm clearly by your side, I still can't protect you. Mayan's hand holding the needle can't help but tremble a little. This bastard of a man. After using the hard way, he actually started to use the soft way. Did he think that by saying a few mushy words of love, her heart would soften and she would forget the hatred he had for spanking her just now? The fingers holding the needle trembled. Damn it, her heart had actually softened. Dimingju straightens up, lowering his head to look at him. His eyes, which were usually cold and aloof, had traces of frailty and fear that were hard to detect. It's this trace of frailty and fear that makes Mayan's heart tighten. The silver needle in his hand quietly returned to the space. She coughed lightly and said, "This time, I was too rash." Although her advancement and coma were accidents, it was still because she was overconfident and careless. I apologize to you and Xiaobao. I will be more careful in the future and will not put myself in danger. Whether it was in the past, present, or future, she wanted revenge, but she would never neglect her own life. In the past, it was because she had to take care of her Xiaobao. Now and in the future, there was one more person who cared about her, so she couldn't bear to let go. This person is called Dimingju. Chapter 436. Dimingju lowers his head and gently kisses her lips. There's an indescribable gentleness, as well as the cautiousness of regaining something that was lost. For the first time, Mayan doesn't resist. Instead, she gently grabs the man's sleeve and responds to his kiss. This kiss isn't violent or aggressive, but lingering as if it wants to melt the two of them into one. After a long time, Dimingju releases Mayan's swollen lips. His voice is husky as he slowly says, "In the future, you're not allowed to put yourself in danger. You're not allowed to treat other men differently. And you're not allowed to get too close to other men. If Benjun finds out that you're taking off other men's clothes or making a move on them, Benjun will definitely punish you. As for the method of punishment, it's naturally, if you're not obedient, you'll get a spanking." Jun Shangdaran moves the hand that had just spanked Mayan's butt. His ears are slightly red, and he's somewhat unsatisfied. It feels unexpectedly good. He really wants to try spanking it again. Bang! Jun Shangdaran, who's thinking about lasciviousness, is directly kicked down from the bed. Mayan sneers, "Dimingju, within 3 days, you'd better not appear in front of me, otherwise, hee." When Hanyi passes by Mayan's room, he sees his Jun Shang being pushed out by a strong force. Even though Jun Shang's appearance is still unparalleled in the world, even though Jun Shang's temperament is still as cold and unapproachable as a cold pine tree on a high mountain, but Hanyi still feels that he sees Jun Shang in a difficult situation. "Jun Shang, this subordinate has come to deliver lunch. Won't you have lunch with Miss Jun?" Dimingju coldly looks over and slowly says in a cold and calm tone, "After returning, go to the purgatory pool and stay there for a month?" Watching Dimingju leave with a cold face, Hanyi is simply in a mess. Who the hell did he provoke? Even though the people who appeared in Jin Wangfu have their memories erased and their mouths silenced. But in the end, they can't stay here for too long. On the third day, after they've taken stock of all the goods and people in Jin Wangfu, Mayan takes the ink camp and Dimingju back to Tianyuan City. In the tranquil Huang Yao country's imperial capital, a raging fire suddenly rises to the sky. By the time everyone comes to their senses and gets water to extinguish the fire, they discover that the formerly flourishing Jin Wangfu has already been burnt to a crisp. When Jian Feng saw his disciple Qing Feng's soul lamp flickering, he knew that he was in danger, so he rushed over with Gong Qianxue. But she only sees that Jin Wangfu has turned into scorched earth and ruins. Huang Yao is asked, but no one knew why Jin Wangfu caught fire. Even in the entire Huang Yao country, there are unexpectedly only a few people who know that Jin Wang was going to get married, let alone who the bride of Jin Wang's big wedding is. Just as Jian Feng and Gong Qianxue were bewildered, Qing Feng rushed out with Bai Yichen's support. Both of them were covered in blood and wounds. Master! Master! Qing Feng? Jian Feng hurriedly got people to catch them and even fed them pills. What the hell happened? It's Jin Wang's new Wang Fei. She's the one who caused the 9-star pearl anomaly that day. What? Jian Feng and Gong Qianxue's expressions changed. Gong Qianxue's eyes reveal a greedy glint. You're saying that the person who caused the vision of the 9-star alignment is in Jin Wangfu? Chapter 437. But before the wedding was held, that woman suddenly went on a killing spree. She killed everyone in Jin Wang and the Wangfu. If this young hero hadn't saved this disciple would already be dead by now. Gong Qianxue and Jian Feng look at Bai Yichen, their expressions slightly changing. Dustless swordsman, Bai Yichen? The #1 young talent of Yinwu continent, who was once on par with Gong Qianxue, now looks indescribably distressed. The internal force in his body has almost disappeared. He was obviously seriously injured. Qing Feng immediately says, Yichen was seriously injured in order to save me. His qi was almost destroyed, and his throat was almost broken. Now, he can't even speak normally. Master, you must help Yichen. He's probably the only person left who has seen that woman. Gong Qianxue's pupils suddenly contract. You really saw that immortal physique. The true face of the person who caused the vision of heaven and earth? Bai Yichen nods, opening his mouth and spitting out 2 words with difficulty. I have. His body is on the verge of collapse, as if he will fall at any time. The light in Gong Qianxue's eyes becomes brighter and brighter, with strong excitement and greed. But the words that come out of her mouth are filled with pity and anxiety. Senior brother. Young hero by Save Qing Feng. So he is the benefactor of our Tiandao sect. Senior brother. Must you save him? Jian Feng smiles faintly, looking at Gong Qianxue with eyes full of adoration. Rest assured, junior sister. Although his injury is very serious, senior brother will definitely not let him die. Young hero Bai, please come back to Tiandao sect with us. Only there are enough medicinal herbs that can cure your injury. Bai Yichen shows a grateful expression and nods. Then he lowers his eyes, slowly curling up the corner of his lips. His left hand is hidden in his sleeve, and his palm is holding a jade bracelet with bloodshot lines. A silent murmur comes out of his mouth. Sitong, don't worry, I will soon be able to avenge you. After killing that woman, I will go down to a company. The will to die has just risen in his heart when he seems to remember Mayan's words. Come back alive and be the leader of my Taishu battalion. The deathly stillness and madness in his eyes slowly recede, eventually turning into a resolute and regretless calm. In any case, he will make Gong Qianxue pay with blood. The carriage slowly returned to Tianyuan City from Huangyao country. Because Jin Wangfu is using a godly flying horse when they go, the speed is very fast. On the way back, Mu Yin felt that she was no longer in a hurry. She leisurely led the carriage forward with Xiao Bao. When they were hungry or thirsty, they would stop to rest. What makes Mayan flabbergasted is that before she left, their noses weren't noses and their eyes weren't eyes. Now, they get along with each other unexpectedly harmoniously. Especially Xiao Bao, who would only stick to her in the past. No one could change Xiao Bao's mind. But now, with just 1 word from Diming Ju, even though Xiao Bao was reluctant, he would still obediently listen. Even Ru Yin and Feng Haideng began to doubt it. Miss, could it be that Xiao Bao is Jun Shang's son? The picture of this family of 3 together was too harmonious. Jun Mayan looks at the 2 figures in front of her, one big and one small, holding hands. Her expression becomes absent-minded for a moment. Then, he smiled bitterly and shook his head. Don't think too much. How is that possible? Of course, she had also thought of this possibility. Xiao Bao has never been close to other people, but he is willing to get close to Diming Ju. Chapter 438. Because of this suspicion, she even beat around the bush and asked Diming Ju if he had come to the Yinwu continent 5 years ago. But the answer she got was, the last time Di Mingju came to the Yinwu continent was already decades ago. At that time, Mayan hadn't even been born yet. What's more, the days and nights in the darkness, that man didn't leave her with any good memories. Even if she's no longer the weak, crying little girl from before. Thinking of that scorching, chaotic darkness, she would still feel an instinctive fear. Mayan shakes her head, throwing these nonsensical thoughts to the back of her mind. How could Di Mingju be that man? She must have been confused by Ru Yin. That's why she would have this kind of thought. Miss, she hears Ru Yan's voice. His Highness has woken up. Mayan's eyes brighten, and she can't help but sigh in relief. Liu Beiyu has finally woken up. Both Bai Yichen and Liu Beiyu's injuries are very serious. Although drafts have saved their lives, the injuries to the veins and qi si can't be treated with medicine. Thus, Mayan uses the Shun musician skill, Realm of Stars, that she has just unsealed. After the Tian Emochin is completely repaired, her spiritual root is reshaped, the Shun musician skill has finally been upgraded to level 2. Apart from some group attack and support skills, such as Echo Recovery and Soundblade, which have expanded their range, there are also several new skills, and Realm of Stars is one of them. When she plays the Realm of Stars with the Tian Emochin, the 9 stars will appear around her and the patient, slowly forming an illusion. In the illusion, the patient will experience a confused dream. As for whether it's a sweet dream or a nightmare, it completely depends on the song that Mayan plays. A sweet dream can make people indulge in the illusion, unconsciously healing their injuries. Nightmares can make people wish they were dead, and the injuries received in the illusion will be reflected on the body. But the Realm of Stars has a very big drawback. That is, if the willpower of the person immersed in the illusion isn't strong enough, it's very likely that they will be immersed in it forever, unwilling to wake up. Bai Yichen's vengeful heart is resolute, so he quickly wakes up. Of course, his injuries are also mostly healed. Mu Yin originally wanted to use the Realm of Stars again, but he refused. Bai Yichen believed that he would not be suspected if he approached Gong Qinxue and Jianfeng with such a heavily wounded and near-death appearance. Meanwhile, after Liu Beiyu entered into the heavenly body tier, his will did not awaken. Although the injuries on his body were almost completely healed, and even his body was becoming stronger as if he had been reborn. But Mu Yin is still worried that he will never wake up. Now, it was finally proven that his worries were unnecessary. Liu Beiyu slowly opens his eyes, still in a trance. The memories in his mind gradually returned. Some were in dreams, and some were in reality. In the end, the chaotic dream slowly faded and became a cruel reality. Master! Bastards, you're not allowed to touch my master. Liu Beiyu abruptly sits up from the bed, his hands flailing. However, what he saw was not the wedding that made him depressed and crazy, but a clean and tidy room. What was going on? Isn't he stopping that bastard Jin Wang at the wedding? Why did he suddenly appear here? Wait, wasn't his hand crippled? Weren't all the meridians in his body damaged? Chapter 439. Liu Beiyu shakes his hand, his face full of shock. Truly, completely recovered. Broken bones, broken tendons, even a deity could not cure them. Could it be that he was already dead? Was it because he was in a ghostly state that he could not feel any pain? Liu Beiyu is in a trance when he sees the door being pushed open. A small figure walks in with his hands behind his back. Seeing that he was unscathed, her big eyes flashed. Junior brother. Liu Beiyu cries out in alarm. Then he reveals an incredulous look of pain. Little senior brother, are you also dead? It was that Jin Wang who killed you, wasn't it? Ah, that damned bastard. Even if I become a ghost, I won't let him off. As soon as he finished shouting, he saw Xiaobao staring at him as if he was an idiot. Although Liu Beiyu has long been accustomed to his little senior brother's contempt for him. However, he felt that the disdain this time was especially intense and glaring. Xiaobao expressionlessly walked to his side and said in a crisp voice, "You're not dead." Not dead? Liu Beiyu stares blankly. That's not right. If I'm not dead, how can I be in such a perfect state? Little senior brother, Don't lie to me. I must be dead and have become a ghost. That's why I don't feel the pain of my broken bones. Idiot. Xiaobao couldn't help but roll his eyes. At this moment, another figure walked in from outside the door. Liu Beiyu sees the beautiful girl coming in, and the rims of his eyes immediately redden. Ah, that damn Jin Wang. He even killed you, master. I must drag him down to the 18th level of hell. Piak. A slap landed on his head. Then, a voice that seemed to be laughing yet not laughing reached his ears. I think I shouldn't treat your injuries first, but your brain first. Otherwise, in the future, if word gets out that my Jun Mayan's apprentice died from stupidity, how would I still have the face to establish myself? Liu Beiyu is stunned by this slap. He raised his head to look at Mu Yin, then looked at Xiaobao. Mayan's words just now slowly echo in his ears. I shouldn't have healed your wound first. Liu Beiyu's eyes suddenly widen. Master? You healed me? Are you saying that I'm still alive and not a ghost? I'm not dreaming right now, am I? Mu Yin slowly extends her snow-white and slender fingers. Pinching Liu Beiyu's cheek, he fiercely pulls it to the side. Ouch, 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 ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Li Hu, please let go. Mu Yin slowly loosens her grip, a smile that isn't a smile. Do you still think that you're dreaming? Liu Beiyu covers half of his bright red cheek, shaking his head with tears in his eyes. I'm not dead. I'm not dead. Master cured me. Then, he realized something. But Master, the bones in my arm are all broken, and my tendons and meridians are all shattered or even ruptured. How did you heal me? Also, why do I feel like my strength has increased? I don't feel like I'm at the beginning of the Earth realm anymore. By the way, where's Bai Yichen? His injuries are worse than mine. Master, you saved him too, right? Master, you're really amazing. I didn't believe it when others said that you snatched a life from the hands of the King of Hell. But now, your disciple believes it without a doubt. After confirming that he was still alive, Liu Beiyu's words came out in a crackling sound. The corners of Mu Yan's mouth twitched. She felt that it was better for this noisy guy to stay in the realm of stars forever. Chapter 440. Mine says, I'll have to wait until I see your big brother to confirm the specifics. But I have a rough idea what the cause of his illness is. Before we go back, we have to make a trip to Jingchang Country's Ghost City. To refine the elixir to treat your big brother, we also need to collect some rare herbs. As for Qi Yin Country's Ghost City in Xi'an, she's already pretty much ransacked it. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to find any rare medicinal herbs. Master, you're amazing. He could actually concoct pills. That whatever Gong Qianxue, whatever Jian Feng, they simply can't compare to Master. Xiaobao raised his head, his face full of worship. Mother is the best. Mu Yin inexplicably feels a little guilty. She promised the Ink Camp, the Tianji unit, and Liu Beiyu that she would refine elixirs. However, ever since the reconstruction of her spiritual meridians, she had yet to attempt alchemy. Mu Yin meets her son and apprentice's eyes that are filled with trust and worship, and she is somewhat worried. If it still failed, her dignity as a mother and Shifu would be completely lost. Jingchang Country, Wangjiang Ghost City. Guess, if you want to enter the Ghost City, please pay 200 gold coins first. Mayan and her group are stopped at the entrance of the Ghost City by the Ghost Envoys. Hearing Wangjiang City's Ghost Envoy's words, Ru Yin can't help but click her tongue. This Ghost City's entrance fee is actually twice as expensive as Xia'an's. The ghost messengers who stopped them saw that the man was extraordinarily handsome and the woman was incomparably beautiful. How could he dare to be negligent? A warm smile hung on his face. Hearing Ru Yan's words, he couldn't help but raise his chin, saying rather proudly, how can Xia'an's Ghost City compare to our Wangjiang's Ghost City? Whether it's fighting beasts or rare herbs, we have more than twice as many as Xi'an. Whatever treasure you want, whatever entertainment you enjoy, there's nothing you can't get in our Wangjiang's Ghost City. Mu Yin smiled slightly. He did not take out any gold coins, but directly took out a token and gave it to the ghost messenger. The ghost messenger was stunned for a moment before lowering his head to look at the token. When he saw the two words, Shanshu, written on the token, his eyes suddenly widened. You are the Ghost King's newly appointed Lord Shanshu? The three great ghost markets have all received an order from His Highness the Ghost King, saying that a new Shanshu has been born. No matter which ghost city Shin-Tu appears in, they must receive him well. If they dare to neglect Shanshu and make him unhappy, they can forget about staying in the ghost city in the future. Sir Shanshu, please come inside. The ghost messenger stammered nervously. This servant will immediately ask the magistrate to entertain you. Looking at the ghost messenger, respectfully leading the way in front, Mayan couldn't help but look up at Deming-ju. A smile that isn't a smile. Say, the Ghost King and I are complete strangers. Why would he give me such a precious Shanshu token? Deming-ju's expression doesn't change. His expression indifferent. How would Bin-jun know? Perhaps he thinks that you will become his future mistress, so he's currying favor in advance. Mu Yin. What the hell is a future mistress? However, without waiting for her to ask again, Deming-ju has already picked up Xiao Bao with one hand and hugs her with the other as he walks forward. Xiao Bao's big eyes kept looking around, and his eyes were filled with curiosity and excitement that a 4-year-old child should have. But there's no tension like when he and Mayan entered the ghost city together. Perhaps in his heart, as long as this lecher is here, Yang Qin won't be in danger. Chapter 441. The ghost envoy quickly leads them to a private room. Soon, a little old man with a handlebar mustache walks in. This one is Su Fu, a magistrate of Wangjiang's ghost city. The little old man looks chubby, smiling like a Maitreya Buddha, but his squinting eyes occasionally reveal a divine light. It lets people know that this person not only has an extremely profound cultivation, but is also very shrewd, with a deep mind. Excuse me, Shinshudaran, what brings you to my Wangjiang's ghost city? Mayan doesn't beat around the bush. Feng Haiteng directly hands the list of herbs prepared by Mayan to Su Fu. Miss needs these rare herbs. How long will it take to prepare them? Su Fu respectfully takes the list and schemes through it, his pupils slightly contracting. But he quickly hangs a smile, reporting to Shinshudaran, 80% of the herbs here are ready-made. But this azure dragon ginseng, jade mussel flower, cold snow fruit, there are only a few of these in stock, and it may take 2 days to prepare them. No matter, take as many as you have. Mayan lightly says, I will stay in Wangjiang for a few days, and I will send someone to collect the remaining 3 days later. As for the price, it will be calculated according to half of the ghost city's market price. Hearing this, Su Fu's fat face immediately shows a happy smile. It should be known that the Shinshudaran's authority is comparable to that of the Ghost King. The Ghost King can directly take away most of the things in the ghost city without paying. But the amount of herbs that Mayan wants is really not small. If they are all given away for free, then Wangjiang's ghost city's loss will not be small. Now that the Shinshudaran is willing to pay half the price to buy these herbs, it is really a pleasant surprise. Su Fu smiles until his teeth can't be seen, and he is extremely attentive. It will take some time to prepare the herbs. Shinshudaran, are you interested in going to the Colosseum? Today's strange beasts are very fierce, and the battle scene will certainly satisfy you, Darren. As soon as Su Fu finishes his words, the fat rabbit that was just nestled in Xiao Bao's arms suddenly stands up. Its long ears sway, and its mung bean eyes emit a hungry and greedy ominous light. It stares straight at Su Fu, itching to pounce on him and have him take him to the Colosseum. It's obviously just a white, fluffy, chubby rabbit. Su Fu, on the other hand, was startled by Mung Bean's gaze, and he couldn't help but take a step back. Just as he was wondering what this rabbit was, a small hand slapped the rabbit's head. A childish voice rang out, "Don't cause trouble." When the fat rabbit heard its little master's warning, it immediately became listless. He obediently lay down again, but he still couldn't help but stick out his tongue and lick it from time to time. This place is filled with beasts. I want to eat. I want to eat. Ru Yin, who was standing behind Xiao Bao, was speechless. At that time, Xiao'an's ghost city also lost a large wave of fierce strange beasts. At that time, many ghost officers and magistrates thought that it was haunted. There were so many strange beasts, but even their bones had disappeared. But now, After following the young miss for so long, if she still didn't know the truth, she would be an idiot. The batch of exotic beasts that disappeared back then had most likely entered this rabbit's stomach. Most importantly, it was clearly so small. How did it manage to swallow such a huge exotic beast into its body? Where did all the food go? Should I say, it's really worthy of being the spiritual pet raised by Miss and Little Master? He was different from the others. Chapter 442. This time, the purpose of their visit to the Ghost City was to buy medicinal herbs, not to make a scene. If the fat rabbit is put into the beast-fighting coliseum, then perhaps Wangjiang's Ghost City will follow in the footsteps of Xia An's Ghost City and be turned upside down. After Su Fu leaves, Mu Yin waits in the private room for an hour. However, Su Fu had yet to return, and not a single herb had been delivered. Mu Yin's patience is somewhat exhausted. Even if it took time to prepare the herbs, it was impossible for there to be no news in 2 hours. Ru Yin understood her master's intention and immediately left to inquire about the news. After he came back, his expression was exceptionally ugly. "Miss, that magistrate Su wants to go back on his word and is unwilling to sell the medicinal ingredients to us." Mu Yin frowns. Without waiting for her to speak, Han Yi already says in disbelief, refusing to sell the herbs to Miss June. Has the Ghost City eaten the guts of a leopard? I think they don't want to stay in the Ghost City anymore. What kind of joke was this? He even dares to offend the mistress of the Ghost City. Were they tired of living? Han Yi looks at Di Mingju's complexion. Although there's no change in his expression, his eyes are already suffused with layers of cold light. In his heart, Han Yi observed a moment of silence for that guy, Ghost Emperor Gu Yu. If he didn't manage his subordinates well, this guy would definitely die a horrible death. Mu Yin slightly narrowed her eyes and said, "Why are you suddenly unwilling to sell medicinal herbs? It's said that a distinguished guest has come and asked for a lot of rare medicinal herbs. Quite a few of them coincide with what Miss wants. Magistrate Su said that it must be given to that distinguished guest first. I can only inconvenience Miss to wait for a few days." Ru Yin is also extremely unhappy. The Ghost City has always been known for its fairness and trustworthiness. It's clearly a promise, but he doesn't fulfill it. Isn't this damaging the reputation of the Ghost City? What's more, Mu Yin is holding the Shanshu token. Her authority is equivalent to that of the King of Hell. It stands to reason that no matter who the guests are, Mayan should be the one to pick first. Han Yi slaps the table and says, "Hee hee, Miss June. Let's go out and meet them right now. Let's see what kind of distinguished guest actually dares to snatch your things." Another private room in the Phantom City is currently surrounded by magistrates and ghost envoys. In the middle of these people sat a woman in a pink dress with her face covered. All the people surrounding the woman had a flattering expression on their faces and spoke in a fawning tone, including Su Fu, who was just currying favor with Mayan. "Shixinzi, I didn't expect that you would grace my Wangjiang's Ghost City with your presence. It's truly our Ghost City's fortune, Wangjiang's fortune." And the woman sitting in the center, surrounded by all the stars, was precisely Shi Lanling. Normally, when she was fawned upon like this, her vanity would definitely explode and she would feel indescribably carefree. But today, the gloominess and worry on his face did not disappear. Even Rue Zhu, who was serving her, was trembling with fear, as if she was afraid of angering her. His gaze unconsciously drifted towards her face. "Very sure, these are the medicinal ingredients you wanted. They have all been prepared. Only the jade mussel flower and the cold snow fruit will have to wait for 2 days. However, very sure, don't worry. Knowing that they are prepared for you, the people below will not dare to be negligent. We guarantee that they will be delivered to you as soon as possible." Su Fu stooped his chubby body and said with a flattering expression. Shi Lanling's expression eased a little as she glanced at Rue Zhu. Rue Zhu immediately took out a porcelain bottle and handed it to Su Fu. Chapter 443. Rue Zhu proudly said, "This is the 3rd-grade foundation strengthening elixir that our Miss has just refined. It has a miraculous effect on the stability and advancement of cultivation. This is your reward." "Thank you, Shixinzi. Thank you, Shirshianzi, Su Fu received it ecstatically. At the same time, he received envious looks from the others. He rejoiced in his heart. Just now, when he was busy preparing the herbs for Junmayan, Shi Lanling suddenly came and also asked for a large number of rare herbs. Su Fu knew this Shirshianzi. His alchemy ability was on par with the Tiandao sect's Grandmaster Jinfeng. If he managed to curry favor with him, he would be able to obtain an alchemy pill. He might be able to break through the bottleneck that he had been stuck in for a long time. Of course, what Su Fu wants even more is the famous filter of barrier breaking in the Ghost City. There were now two kinds of filters of barrier breaking. One was aimed at those below Heaven stage. In the Ghost City's auction house, it had already been hyped to the sky-high price of 10 million gold coins. However, the people outside almost don't know that there's another kind of pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking in the Ghost City. It was only targeted at Heaven rank and above, or even innate rankers. The supply of the filter of barrier breaking was already very low. As for the pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking, there are only 2 bottles in the entire Ghost City. One of the bottles was exchanged by a lucky magistrate in Wangjiang City with his merits. He actually broke through from the peak of Heaven rank to innate rank on the spot. Such a result simply made the entire Ghost City go crazy. Su Fu had been stuck at Xiantian low level for a very, very long time. If he still couldn't break through, his position among the judges would become unstable. Even in his dreams, he wanted a bottle of pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking. But after the magic of the pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking was known by everyone, how could it be his turn? Therefore, when Su Fu learned of Shi Lanling's arrival today, he was extremely excited. Thus, he decisively chose to offend the newly promoted Shinshu and ran over to curry favor with Shirshianzi. Even if he did not have the pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking, if he could obtain the pills refined by Shirshianzi, there was a very high possibility that he would break through to the middle stage of pre-celestial. Now, it seemed that he had made the right bet. The envious and jealous expressions of the people around him made Su Fu even more complacent. At this moment, there was a sudden bang at the door. "Where's Su Fu? Ask him to come out. Tell me, why didn't you give me the medicinal ingredients that you promised my miss? Hee. Don't tell me that everyone in the Ghost City are shameless people who go back on their words? How can you go back on your word?" Su Fu's expression immediately changed. Everyone's eyes fell on his face. Shi Lanling also frowned slightly. Rui Zhu asked directly, "Magistrate Su, what's going on? The management of the Ghost City is already so lax now. Can people casually come and make trouble where my family's miss is?" Su Fu wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and stammered for a long time. In the end, he still couldn't bear it any longer and said, "Reporting to Shirshianzi, the matter is actually like this. In fact, the herbs that you wanted were originally prepared for our Ghost City's new Shinshu Darren." "Shinshu?" Shi Lanling is flabbergasted. "I remember that there hasn't been a Shanshu in the Ghost City for 300 years, right?" Rui Zhu bluntly said, "What Shanshu? Could he be a swindler using the name of Shanshu to swindle people? What's more, so what if it's Shen too? Could he be more noble than my young miss? Could it be that you have the guts to snatch something from my young miss?" Chapter 444. Wait a minute. Shi Lanling suddenly opens her mouth. "I'd like to see who this so-called Shanshu is. Have someone invite them in." Su Fu's face stiffens, and he can only bow and comply. After a while, Mayan's entourage comes in. Shi Lanling's gaze falls on Di Mingju for the first time. Her eyes first pause, then reveal a look full of infatuation. Even if Di Mingju converges his breath in the Ghost City, people wouldn't notice him at first glance. Shi Lanling, on the other hand, only saw this handsome, powerful, and deeply infatuated man at the first moment. She can't even stop herself from wanting to throw herself into his arms and tell him how much she misses him. Shi Lanling, has never loved a man to this extent since she was a child. However, at this time, her line of sight shifts. Beside the man, the young girl's charming face is reflected in her eyes. "Yes. You." Shi Lanling grits her teeth and growls. "Junmayan, this slut. She actually dares to appear in front of her. Sure Lanling's hand can't help but stroke her face, her chest uncontrollably heaving up and down. It's this slut June Mayan who poisoned her with white jade purple frost, causing her to end up in this state. These days, she has tried all kinds of methods to cure the poison of white jade purple frost in her body. But there's nothing she can do. Her cultivation is regressing little by little. If this goes on, she's afraid that she won't even be able to maintain Heaven's stage. Helpless, Sure Lanling can only use another kind of elixir with poison, fighting poison with poison, to suppress the toxicity of the white jade purple frost. Who would have thought that after one night, the toxicity of the white jade purple frost would actually surface on the surface of her skin? It causes dense white spots to grow on her face and body. Sure Lanling looks at herself in the mirror like a devil and angrily smashes everything in the room. In her fear and resentment, Sure Lanling flips through a lot of medical books to find a dan to eliminate the white spots. However, it requires a lot of rare herbs, so she comes to the Ghost City. She didn't expect to run into this slut June Mayan here. Unfortunately, when she was disfigured, June Mayan became even more beautiful than before and even more high-spirited. How could she not hate this? She really wants to tear June Mayan's body to pieces. Sir Shin too. Su Fu wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and respectfully said, "Didn't I already send word to you? The medicinal herbs that you need can't be gathered in the Ghost City in a few days. Why don't you wait for a few more days?" Mayan raises her brows and looks at Sure Lanling. "I didn't expect it to be an old acquaintance. Sure Shinzi, I trust you have been well since we last met." Sure Lanling clenched her teeth, almost unable to control her twisted expression. Muyin doesn't care about her, but looks at Su Fu. "Magistrate Su, you just told me that 80% of the medicine Ghost City has it. Why are you going back on your words now?" Su Fu wipes his sweat and smiles hollowly. This. I made a mistake just now. The Ghost City is actually already out of stock for these herbs. Our young mistress wants these medicinal herbs." Rue Zhu sneers and looks at Mayan with disdain. "Moreover, for the next few days, our family's miss will buy all the relevant herbs. Miss June, if you want it, you can buy it elsewhere." Chapter 445. Magistrate Su. Mayan looks at the sweating Su Fu next to her. "Giving my medicine to others? Is it you, Su Fu, going back on your word? Or is it that the treatment promised by Ghost City to Shen Shu is fake?" This. Su Fu's whole body is like an ant on a hot pan. He wants to curry favor with Sure Lanling, but he also doesn't want to offend the newly promoted Shinchudaran, especially when the other people in Ghost City cast their understanding and contemptuous gazes. It makes her feel like she's sitting on pins and needles. Sure Lanling, on the other hand, burst into laughter. "Shin too? Ghost City hasn't had a Shanshu for 300 years. I don't know if this sudden appearance is real or fake. If someone used a fake Shanshu token to swindle away so many herbs from Ghost City, who would be able to bear such a crime?" "That's right," Rueju echoes. "Ghost City's Shanshu. Which one of them isn't a person of virtue and prestige, comparable to the King of Hell? A girl who's not even 20 years old and doesn't know alchemy, yet she could get the Shanshu token of Ghost City. Who would believe it?" As soon as these words come out, everyone looks at Mayan with a bit of suspicion in their eyes. It's really that Mayan is too young. Her skin is whiter than snow, and her features are picturesque. If she wasn't holding Xiao Bao by her side, she would look like a beautiful but fragile little girl. How could she get the Shenshu token? A smile finally appears on Sure Lanling's face. She slowly gets up from her seat and walks in front of Mayan. Her voice is gentle, but with a trace of lofty contempt. "Miss June, you should know that many of these rare herbs can only play a role in alchemy. You don't know alchemy at all. Taking these herbs back would just be a reckless waste of God's gifts. Why bother? Or is it to say," she suddenly pauses, glancing at Di Mingju on the side, "or is it because I said in front of Di Jun that you can't do alchemy, so you feel unreconciled in your heart and also want to try alchemy?" Looking at the girl's expressionless face across from her, Sure Lanling only thinks that she really has such a purpose, and her heart feels unspeakably carefree. Then she can't help but burst out laughing. "Did I really hit the nail on the head? Miss June, I know that you are talented in concocting medicine. However, drafts and elixirs, even though they are both medicines, there's a world of difference between them. The value of drafts is also far from being comparable to elixirs. Don't tell me that you think that you can refine drafts by yourself, and then just pick up some herbs and casually study them, and you'll be able to learn alchemy? You're too naive. Rue Zhu quickly walks to Shi Lanling's side, supporting her, her face full of arrogance and disdain. Miss June, you should know that in the entire Yinwu continent, there are no more than 5 people who can perform alchemy. Someone as young and as famous as our family's miss is even rarer. Only the Heavenly Road sect's Master Jinfeng can be mentioned in the same breath. You want to learn alchemy immediately? Haha, are you kidding me? The surrounding people also smiled and shook their heads. Yes, how could alchemy be such an easy task? In the Ghost City, there are actually quite a few people who have medical skills and can refine drafts. However, apart from Shi Lanling, there was no one else who could refine pills. This is the reason why Shi Lanling's status in the Ghost City is so high. In the entire Yinwu continent, alchemy methods and Dan recipes are spread everywhere. Chapter 446. Don't forget, if it's an elixir refined by our miss, a part of it will be consigned for sale in the Ghost City. Su Fu snapped out of his daze and bowed to Shi Lanling in a flattering manner. When he turns around to face Mayan, his face no longer has that careful, nervous, and fawning look from a moment ago. Miss, I've already told you about the matter regarding the medicinal herbs. Regardless of whether this Shin-Tu token is real or not, I think it would be best for you to not cause trouble and leave now. Ru Yin trembled. You've just checked the Shin-Tu token. Whether it's real or fake, can't you recognize it? This token was personally given to Miss June by the King of Hell of Xi'an City. I was also present at the time. On what basis do you say that Miss Shenshu's identity is fake? So what if it's true? Su Fu sneered, his face full of disdain. At this moment, he might as well give up. In any case, he has already offended June Mayan. Whether June Mayan is Shin-Tu or not, she won't give him any face. In that case, he might as well hug Shi Lanling's thigh tightly. When the time comes, the benefits he would obtain would be innumerable. Just now, Shirshinzi also said that these medicinal herbs are mainly used to refine pills. You, a person who doesn't know how to refine pills, what can you do by taking away these medicinal herbs? Don't tell me they can be like Shirshinzi and put them in our Ghost City for consignment sale? The more Su Fu talks, the more excited he gets. Do you know what price Shirshinzi can sell the pills that she sends to our Ghost City every time, and how much profit she can bring to our Ghost City? Let alone the fact that this Shanshu of yours is fake. Even if it's real, can your status and identity be mentioned in the same breath as Shirshinzi? What right do you have to fight with her? Magistrate Su, your words are too much. A woman who looked to be in her 40s heard this and finally couldn't help but step forward and say, treating Shin-Tu as an honored guest is an order from the Ghost King. If Miss June really is Shin-Tu, then she should have the priority to purchase the herbs. Even if she wanted to take the herbs away for free, that is also fine. You go back on your word and deceive Shanshu. Do you take our Ghost City's rules as a child's play? Su Fu's eyes flickered when he heard that. He seemed to be a little flustered, but soon, he remembers the recent rumors about Jingchang Country's Ghost City. He heard that Jingchang Country's King of Hell is the strongest among the 3 kings of Hell, even approaching the Ghost King. Furthermore, their king Yinluo was not on good terms with the Ghost Emperor. Maybe Jingchang Country's Ghost City will break away from the Ghost King and cooperate with Jingchang Country's royal family. At that time, what Ghost King's orders? What Shinshu? What Ghost King? If he could win over Shirshinzi to His Highness the King of Hell side today, not only would he not be punished for offending Shin-Tu, he would even receive a great reward. Thinking of this, Su Fu's expression immediately calmed down. He narrows his eyes and casts a sidelong glance at the middle-aged woman, Magistrate Qin. Everything I do is for the good of the Ghost City. It's for the sake of the Ghost City's future. Think about it. Is it more important for us to be on good terms with a woman who can't even refine pills and can't bring benefits to the Ghost City? Or is it more important to form a good relationship with Shirshinzi? Even if it's the Ghost Lord's order, if it harms the Ghost City's interests, I, Su Fu, will not comply. Isn't everyone right? The infernal judges and ghost envoys looked at each other in dismay, discussing spiritedly. Chapter 447. Some people agree with Su Fu, believing that only by befriending Shirshinzi can the ghost city obtain the greatest benefits, and such people make up the vast majority of the magistrates. Only a few people stood beside the middle-aged woman, Magistrate Qin, thinking that Ghost King's orders were everything. How could they disobey? Seeing how stubborn they are, Su Fu can't help but frown, his expression cold and stern. Judge Qin, everything I'm doing is for the good of the Ghost City. If you're so thick-headed, you won't have a good end when I report this to the King of Hell. Shi Lanling also looked at the middle-aged woman, snorted, and arrogantly said, Rui Zhu, in the future, you are not allowed to sell the pills I refine to these people. Rui Zhu smiled and said, Rest assured, Mississippi, since these people don't know what's good for them, let alone Mrs. Medicinal pills in the future, I'm afraid they won't be able to buy any medicinal pills anymore. They only have themselves to blame. Hearing this, Su Fu felt an indescribable joy in his heart. Some of the people behind Judge Qin hesitated. Two of them couldn't withstand the pressure and walked behind Su Fu. He then advised, Judge Qin, why do you have to be so stubborn for a girl you've never met? Besides, we didn't do anything to her. It's just that the medicinal ingredients are what Shirshinzi wants, so we'll give them to her first. That's right. This is the best decision for our Ghost City. Why do you have to go against everyone for a shanshu whose authenticity we don't know? The middle-aged woman stiffens her neck, not letting Su Fu give the herbs to Shi Lanling. I'm not going against you. I only know that in the Ghost City, the Ghost King's order is everything. You disobeyed the Ghost Lord's order. You're not worthy to stay in the Ghost City. Haha, Qin Xiangyu, since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame us for being impolite. Su Fu coldly said, Magistrate Qin colluded with outsiders and harmed the Ghost City's interests. Lock her up first and wait for the King of Hell to come back and punish her. Clang, clang, clang. Both sides unsheathed their weapons at the same time. On the other hand, Judge Qin's side was clearly at a disadvantage. Mu Yin looks at the two distinct factions and slightly narrows her eyes. It's as if he can see the undercurrents surging in Wangjiang's Ghost City. She suddenly remembers that in her past life, Jingcheng Country's Ghost City seemed to have fallen into Gong Qianchua's hands in the end. What about now? Has Gong Qianchua's hand already inserted into Wangjiang's Ghost City? The two sides were in a deadlock. Old Tao suddenly ran over, beaming with joy. After seeing Mayan, he immediately bows and salutes. Miss, it turns out that you're here. It took me a while to find you. The commission for the consignment sale of the new batch of drafts has already been discussed. Wangjiang's Ghost City is willing to lower the original price by another 10%. We're just waiting for your confirmation and signature. Mr. Liu is waiting for you in the original private room. When Old Tao talked about this, his eyebrows danced and he was in high spirits. Mayan's drafts are all consigned for sale in the Ghost City. Originally, the Ghost City only charges 20% as a fee. Such a price is the lowest in the entire Ghost City. But now, in order to be on good terms with them, Wangjiang's Ghost City has lowered the processing fee to 10%. The construction of the Heavenly Secret Unit and the Ink Camp is in need of money, right? How could Old Tao not be happy to earn a little more? Of course, the most important thing isn't that Old Tao is on good terms with them. Rather, the drafts that Mayan can take out, which one of them isn't priceless and can't be snatched away. Chapter 450. He immediately decides to let Wangjiang's Ghost City buy it all. Before the price is settled, Old Liu is holding that pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking like a golden treasure, reluctant to let go for a moment. Old Tao has just finished speaking with a beaming smile, when he finds that the surrounding atmosphere is somewhat stagnant. He scratches his head, somewhat confused. Miss, what's wrong? Didn't you say you wanted to buy herbs? Have you bought them now? Mu Yin has a smile that isn't a smile, about to speak. She sees a white-bearded old man rushing over. He's holding a document in one hand and a porcelain bottle in the other. He looks down from time to time as he runs, as if he's afraid that the treasure in his hand might knock or bump. You. You must be Miss June? It's an honor to meet you at last. As soon as he sees Mu Yin next to Old Tao, he immediately rushes over in 2 or 3 steps. He doesn't care that he's old enough to be Mu Yan's grandfather and deeply bows. I didn't expect the famous godly apothecary to be so young. Oh, this old man is also an apothecary, but seeing the drafts that you've refined, I'm completely ashamed of my inferiority, ashamed of my inferiority. Miss June, this old man has brought the contract for the consignment sale of the drafts this time. Do you think we should sign it immediately? If you have any other requests, our Wangjiang's Ghost City will do our best to satisfy you. As he says that, he eagerly hands over the contract. His other hand is still firmly grasping that porcelain bottle, pressing it against his chest, as if he's afraid that someone else will snatch it away. Mu Yan's mouth holds back a smile, and she carelessly glances at the contract, but she doesn't take it. Instead, she slowly says, "There's no need. I think our contract should be annulled." Magistrate Liu stares blankly. Annulled? What do you mean? It means that I'm not going to consign the special drafts in Wangjiang's Ghost City. Magistrate Liu blinks and blinks again. It seems like he only realizes what Mu Yin said after a long while. Junju, Miss June, what are you talking about? Magistrate Liu is so anxious that he can't speak fluently, and he almost drops the precious porcelain bottle in his hand. Miss June, please don't joke around. Didn't we already agree? Is the consignment fee too expensive? We can reduce it to 5%. No, it's fine even if we don't accept it. Mu Yin shows a languid smile and looks at him. She stretches out her hand. Before Magistrate Liu could react, the porcelain bottle that he was holding like a treasure in his hand has already disappeared into Mu Yan's hand. If I remember correctly, what is in this bottle should be the pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking that I refined. Since you're not going to sell it in Wangjiang's Ghost City, shouldn't you return it to me? As she spoke, she threw it to Feng Haitang as if she was throwing trash. Ow, 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 ow. Magistrate Liu was so distressed that he wished he could immediately burst into tears. His innate filter of barrier breaking, his precious golden lump. Miss June, what happened to you? Just tell me if you have any requests. I'll promise you anything. Okay? He really wanted to kneel down to this ancestor. A godly draft that's delivered to their doorstep with great difficulty. The innate filter of barrier breaking had finally fallen into his hands. In the past, these godly drafts could only be easily obtained in Xia An's Ghost City. Today, this divine rank alchemist actually delivered himself to his doorstep. He was simply about to go mad with joy. Chapter 451. Magistrate Liu's old face wants to cry. His empty hands are itching to pull out his white beard. Miss June, you're the Shunshu of the entire Ghost City. How can you be biased and only manage Xia An's Ghost City? Our Wangjiang's Ghost City's reverence for you is like an endless torrential river. If crying, making a fuss, and hanging oneself can make this ancestor change her mind, Magistrate Liu can absolutely do it now. Oh, speaking of this, Mu Yin takes out the Shanshu token from her bosom and casually throws it at Magistrate Liu, her face full of ridicule. I thought that the Ghost City's Shanshu would have the highest priority treatment. I didn't expect it to be nothing more than scrap metal. I can't even buy some drafts if I want to. Since it's so useless, I don't want this nuisance of a Shanshu. Saying that, she glances at Su Fu on the side. By the way, Magistrate Su, didn't you just want to test whether my Shanshu token is real or not? Now that the Shanshu token has been returned to your Ghost City, if you want to test it, then test it to your heart's content. Su Fu blankly stands in place, his whole body stiff, and the faces of the magistrates and ghost envoys following behind Su Fu fluctuate between green and white, wishing they could immediately faint. Junmu Yin, unexpectedly isn't just a Shanshu? Or, she's still that godly alchemist who can refine the pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking. Su Fu only feels that everything before his eyes goes black. A roar goes off in his head, and all the blood in his body goes cold. What did he just do? He actually offended an alchemist who can refine the pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking? At this time, Magistrate Lu finally realizes that something unpleasant has happened here. He grumpily pulls over a person to ask about the cause and effect of the matter. When he hears that Su Fu, in order to curry favor with Shi Lanling, gave all the herbs that he originally promised to sell to Mu Yin to her, and he even severely offended Mu Yin. Magistrate Lu's blood rushes out of his mouth, and he almost faints. Su Fu, I'll kill you, you pig. He ruthlessly kicks Su Fu and the others away. Magistrate Lu rushes to Mu Yin, who is about to leave, and kneels down with a thud. He reaches out and grabs the hem of Mu Yan's skirt. Young Lady June, Sir Shun too, please don't hold a grudge against those bastards. Don't bother with them. Our Wangjiang's ghost city really needs your special drafts, and that bottle of pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking. Please be kind and give it to me. Otherwise, I won't be able to eat or drink, and I might even die in a few days. Mu Yin. She was also dumbfounded by the scene before her. He had never seen such a shameless person. If it was a young man, she would have sent him flying with a kick. However, the one who was tugging at her skirt and crying and acting like a spoiled child was an old man old enough to be her grandfather. Mayan takes a deep breath, then another deep breath. Even when Deming Ju is about to step forward and kick someone, she forcibly pulls him back. She had to respect her elders. Love the young. I can't be too hot-tempered. I can't be too hot-tempered. No matter what, Shi Lanling had never imagined that there would be such a turn of events. Just a moment ago, June Mayan was about to be driven out without any dignity, but suddenly, an old man ran over and respected her so much that he even treated her like a treasure and asked her to stay. Chapter 452. Otherwise, it would be impossible to heal her face in a quarter of an hour. But even if it's powerful in the end, it's still just a draft? Could it be that these people are crazy? They don't pursue her, a fairy who can refine elixirs, and instead go after someone who can only refine drafts? What filter of barrier breaking? What godly drafts? Could they be compared to the foundation-strengthening pill that she's refining? Shi Lanling tightly clenches her teeth, and suddenly tilts her head to say a few words to Ruizhu. Ruizhu immediately clears her throat and loudly says, "Tisk, isn't it just drafts? What's there to fight over?" Next month, the elixirs that Shi Xinzi has refined will be sold at a 30% discount in Wangjiang's Go City. As expected, this sentence silenced the originally noisy atmosphere in the room. Ruizhu arrogantly raises her chin, waiting for these people to recover from their shock, then jump for joy and be wild with joy. It must be known that Shi Lanling's elixirs have always been priceless in the Go City. How many people want to buy them, but can't? The price has always been very high. A 30% discount, this is something that has never happened before. However, one breath goes by, 10 breaths, 100 breaths. The scene is still quiet, cold, and indifferent. Magistrate Lu is flabbergasted and inexplicably sweeps his gaze over Shi Lanling and Ruizhu. Soon after, he abruptly turns his head and continues to pull Mayan's skirt as he cries, "Miss June, you can't leave this old man in the lurch. Our ghost city will give you all the herbs that you want. Okay? Otherwise, if you feel that it's not enough, this old man will double it. You can sign this contract." The other magistrates and ghost envoys of the ghost city are also looking at Mayan with fervent eyes. Although some people's eyes are filled with shame and depression, regretting that they had just stood on the wrong side. But when they think that if those special drafts could be sold in Wangjiang's ghost city, then they would certainly be able to get some benefits, and they immediately become fervent. Some people even bow deeply to Mayan, begging her to forgive them. Ruizhu never thought that after she thought that she had announced a big piece of news, there would be this kind of result. Her small face flushes red. She looks at Shi Lanling next to her. Even through the veil, she can see her malevolent and twisted face. What is the most embarrassing thing in life? It wasn't that what you said would be rebutted and humiliated by others. It was that you thought that you were the center of attention, but who knew that after you spoke, you would be treated like air, and no one would take you seriously. Even Su Fu looked as if his intestines had turned green at this moment. If he could go back in time, he would definitely make a completely different choice. Sure Lanling's hands hung by her side, tightly clenched into fists. His pair of eyes have already turned crimson, firmly glaring at Mayan in the middle of the crowd. This slut, this June Mayan, every time she's around, she'll make him lose face. She wanted her dead. He had to destroy her reputation and make her die a tragic death. Sure Lanling couldn't stay in this place any longer and was about to leave with large strides. But the doorway is blocked by Mayan's people. When Sure Lanling squeezed out, the scarf on her face was inevitably hooked by someone. The veil fell off, revealing a face full of white spots. Ah, what's that? How could it be so scary? Like vitiligo? Chapter 453. It's no wonder that Miss June's husband just said that she's an ugly freak. Looking at it this way, she really is an ugly freak. Sure Lanling used her hands to cover her face tightly, but the chattering sounds of discussion still entered her ears incessantly. Finally, she can't bear it anymore and lets out a shrill scream. She rushes out like a madwoman. Looking at her departing figure, Mayan can't help but curve her lips. The expression on her face is one of schadenfreude. TSK, TSK, TSK. Didn't Sure Lanling say that removing the white jade purple frost is just a matter of minutes? How come it's been so long? Not only was it not removed, but it also made the poison float to the surface? However, that face full of white spots really makes people happy. Who asked her to want to harm her baby back then? Miss June. She suddenly hears the voice of a middle-aged woman. Mayan raises her head and meets Magistrate Chen's cramped eyes. Miss June, very, very sorry. Our ghost city has wronged you. No, but our Wangjiang's ghost city really needs the drafts that you refine. Can we ask you to be magnanimous and forgive us this time? We promise that we will properly rectify the ghost city. There won't be a next time. Hearing that, Magistrate Liu jerks his head up, his watery eyes glaring at Mayan. He nods desperately. Yes, yes, all those who offended Miss June. Our ghost city will definitely punish them severely. Miss June, please sell the drafts to us. Saying that, he fiercely glares at Su Fu. Su Fu's fat body trembles a bit. At this moment, he really wants to find a hole to crawl into. But there's a faint unwillingness and resentment bubbling up in his eyes. Mayan's gaze softens a bit as she looks at the middle-aged woman. This Magistrate Chen, as well as the people with her, they were all protecting her when there was such a great disparity between the two sides just now. She can't not accept this kindness. It's not impossible to consign the special drafts to Wangjiang's ghost city, she slowly says. As soon as she says that, everyone's eyes in the room brighten and they stare at her. But they listen to Mayan continue. But the originally scheduled 3 bottles of pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking will be reduced to 1. The other drafts will also be reduced accordingly. Moreover, all drafts must not pass through Su Fu's hands. In the future, no matter if it's drafts or elixirs that I refine, they must not pass through Su Fu's hands. Do you have any objections to this? No, no. It's all up to Miss June. Although Magistrate Liu was heartbroken that the 3 bottles of innate filter of barrier breaking had been reduced to 1 bottle, he felt that the present result was already very good. As for Su Fu, even if Mayan doesn't say anything, he will inevitably be punished. In the future, the sale of drafts will naturally not go through his hands. The other people who stand on Su Fu's side hear that they won't be punished and won't be excluded from buying and selling special drafts, and they immediately sigh in relief. Magistrate Liu didn't hesitate to give up the profits. Whether it's the contract for the sale of drafts or the herbs to be given to Mayan, they're all quickly finalized. After signing the contract, Mayan uses the storage ring that Di Mingju gave her to store the herbs. Only then does she reveal a satisfied smile. I'll have someone come to collect the rest of the herbs in a few days. Yes, yes, yes. Miss June, you can rest assured that we will definitely prepare the things you want. Don't worry. But since we've already signed the contract, can that innate filter of barrier breaking? Chapter 454. Mayan laughs in spite of herself. She signals to Feng Haidang, and she immediately gives the bottle of pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking to Magistrate Liu. After the old man received the porcelain bottle, his eyes wished that they could shoot out flames. He stuffed it into his pocket as if it was a treasure, putting it away from the covetous gazes of others. However, Mu Yin looked at the middle-aged woman. With a flip of her wrist, a porcelain bottle that was exactly the same as the one that the old man had snatched away just now appeared in her palm. Mu Yin handed the things to the middle-aged woman. "For you." The atmosphere instantly became stiff and stagnant. The middle-aged woman's eyes widened and her jaw dropped. She couldn't react for a long time. For me? This could it be? Looking at the appearance of the porcelain bottle, it was exactly the same as the one Magistrate Liu had taken away. "As you expected, this is the innate filter of barrier breaking," Mu Yin said indifferently. "I've noticed that your cultivation has been stagnant at the early pre-celestial level for a long time. Take this bottle of pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking, and it should be able to help you advance to the middle pre-celestial level." As he spoke, he grabbed the middle-aged woman's hand and placed the porcelain bottle in her palm. The middle-aged woman's hand trembled as she caught the porcelain bottle. She could not believe what she had just heard and seen. This is the innate filter of barrier breaking. You actually want to give it to me? The price of an ordinary filter of barrier breaking in the Ghost City has already reached 10 million gold coins. Then what about the innate filter of barrier breaking? How much would it cost? But such a treasure. This Miss June actually gave it to him? Mu Yin smiles faintly. "Just take it as thanks for standing up for me." As she spoke, she turned to look at the infernal judge, an emissary of hell who had stood in front of her with the middle-aged woman. These people were stared at by her sparkling eyes. One by one, they stood at attention. Gulp, gulp. They couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Mayan raises her hand, and a row of porcelain bottles is placed on the table. These drafts are called Blood Lotus Liquid. Although its efficacy can't compare to the pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking, it can let people immediately break through bottlenecks. However, it can improve a person's root bone and chi, allowing a person's physique to get the greatest improvement in a short period of time. I see that you haven't reached the bottleneck yet. Take this bottle of draft, and when you encounter a bottleneck in the future, it will be a lot easier to break through. Ever since the Tian Emochin had been upgraded, the effectiveness of the spring snow had also been upgraded. The drafts refined were a lot more powerful than before, which gave birth to the upgraded version of the filter of barrier breaking, the pre-celestial filter of barrier breaking. And this, Blood Lotus Liquid, is a new draft that can only be successfully refined after the spring snow skill is upgraded. In terms of medicinal efficacy, it was inferior to the innate filter of barrier breaking. But in terms of steady progress, it was more useful than the innate filter of barrier breaking. After putting down a row of porcelain bottles, Mu Yin saw that the group of people were all looking at him foolishly. Even their eyes had lost focus. She couldn't help but urge, "You don't want these drafts? I want even more." The innate filter of barrier breaking? She didn't finish her sentence. Like a gust of wind, those people rushed to the table and snatched away the porcelain bottle that belonged to them. That's right, he snatched it away. His speed was so fast that one could see the afterimage of his hand. Then, before anyone could react, he quickly hid it in his pocket like the old man. "Many thanks for Miss June's kindness." Under the blazing and jealous gazes of others who want to kill them and seize their treasures, they bowed deeply towards Mayan, their eyes glistening with tears. Chapter 455. At this time, they all looked at the middle-aged woman with gratitude. If it weren't for her being the first to stand up and defend Shintu, they wouldn't have the guts to offend Shirshianzi. In this way, he naturally wouldn't be able to obtain such great benefits. Even though this Blood Lotus Liquid hasn't been sold in the Ghost City yet, just by listening to the effects of a special grade draft, he knows that it's bound to be sold for a sky-high price, so much so that he can't buy it even if he has the money. Now that they had gotten a bottle for free, how could they not be ecstatic? In contrast to these people, the people who stood on Su Fu's side were truly regretting their actions, so much that their intestines had turned green. Just a moment ago, they were still rejoicing that they had escaped punishment. But now, he felt as if he had lost the entire world's treasure. Everyone's gazes pierced towards Su Fu like knives, and they wished for nothing more than to tear him into pieces. If it wasn't for this guy, how could they have watched as someone else got the treasure while they had nothing at all? Pre-celestial filter of barrier-breaking, blood lotus liquid. They really wanted it. Magistrate Liu also has an aggrieved look on his face. How good would it be if these drafts could be given to him? Even if he didn't eat it, he would be overjoyed to study it. He thickens his skin and wants to ask Mayan for more, but when he meets the girl's faint eyes, he can't help but wither. Mayan takes a step closer to him and slowly says, "If I, Jun Mayan, find out that someone has forcefully snatched the things that I, Jun Mayan, give away, your ghost city, you know the consequences." Hearing this, the people who had originally planned to forcefully buy it from those ghost messengers and judges with low cultivation couldn't help but shiver. He didn't dare to act rashly again. Magistrate Liu smiled apologetically. Don't worry. With this old man watching, if anyone dares to shamelessly rob, I will definitely skin them alive." In this way, the middle-aged woman's worries disappeared. On the other hand, the others were even more resentful towards Su Fu. Su Fu received the resentful gazes of the crowd, then looked at the middle-aged woman and the others who were beaming with joy. His fat, oily hands clenched into fists. Then, he raised his head and looked in the direction where Mu Yin and the others had left. His eyes were filled with resentment and hatred. Ever since she plundered Jin Wangfu, Mayan's purse, which had originally become thinner and thinner due to the Raising Ink Camp and the Tianji unit, has now become incomparably full. Therefore, after arriving at Jingcheng Country's Wangjiang City, she didn't stay in a restaurant. Instead, he directly asked Ru Yin to buy a secluded but spacious and comfortable courtyard. After Mayan leaves, this place will become another base for the Tianji Battalion. This time, he followed Mayan to Wangjiang City. In addition to Yin Haoyin, Feng Haideng, Ru Yin, and the others, there was also Qin Qingfeng and Fang Jingya. Over at Tianyuan City, the Ink Camp, led by Xin Jinglin and Chang Yu, is stationed there. These days, under Ru Yan's training, Fang Jingya has been completely reborn. When she stood quietly at the side, people could completely ignore her existence. But when she curled her lips into a smile, she could make people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze and completely let down their guard around her. She didn't have the slightest bit of seductiveness, but she could make men take pity on her and women get close to her. This is almost a spy at its best. Even Ru Yin also praised Fang Jingya's exceptional aptitude as a spy. As for bringing Qian Qingfeng, it's because his level of alchemy has reached a plateau recently. Even his cultivation has stagnated. Chapter 456. In fact, Qian Qingfeng's current level of alchemy is already quite outstanding. The special drafts that Mu Yin trades with the Ghost City are actually only a few. The other drafts sold to the Ghost City are all refined by Qian Qingfeng. The drafts that Qian Qingfeng refines are not as heaven-defying as Mu Yan's. But compared to ordinary drafts, the effects of his drafts are not a little bit stronger. Plus, the price is within the acceptable range for most practitioners, so they are very popular in the Ghost City. Miss, I'm really too stupid. He hangs his head and listlessly says, "You've already taught me so many times how to refine the filter of barrier breaking, but I still can't succeed. You've taught me for so long, but I haven't even learned the basics of you." Ru Yin sneers. "Why don't you take a look? Whose skin and fur is that?" To be able to learn the basics of the Mrs. skill, other alchemists would go crazy from jealousy. Everyone roars with laughter at these words. Qian Qingfeng's unshaven face also shows a simple and honest smile. After they've laughed, Mu Yin listens to Ru Yin and Yin Haoyin's work report. She says in a low voice, "For the next 3 days, I will go into seclusion. If there's anything that I can't handle, you can find." Before she can finish, Ru Yin smiles and says, "Rest assured, Mississippi. We know that if there's something we can't handle, we can look for the son-in-law. The son-in-law is so powerful, there's nothing he can't solve." Mu Yin grits her teeth. "Who are you calling son-in-law?" Ru Yin blinks, suddenly realizing Oh, that's right. If it's not son-in-law, then it's the future son-in-law. But this subordinate thinks that the future son-in-law is very eager to become a regular employee. Hee hee, that's natural. To be able to marry the Miss with our Mrs. character and appearance, the son-in-law must have cultivated 3 lifetimes of good fortune. However, if the future son-in-law wants to marry the Miss, he still has to go through the little gongzi. The little master already calls the son-in-law daddy. It's obvious that he has already acknowledged it. Mu Yin presses the throbbing veins on her forehead and snappily says, "Shut up. I have nothing to do with that guy." Unfortunately, after she's finished, his subordinates all had smiles that said, "You don't need to say anything. We all understand. You're just shy." She suddenly felt extremely powerless and couldn't stop the burning sensation on her cheeks. "By the way, Miss, is your seclusion this time to try alchemy?" Ru Yin suddenly asked. Everyone's eyes can't help but focus on Mayan, wanting to say something but hesitating. "Miss, in fact, the drafts that you've refined have already far surpassed the effectiveness and value of today's elixirs. There's no need to force yourself to refine pills because of that hateful Shirlanling." "That's right, Mississippi. What Jinfeng? What Shirlanling? So what if they're called alchemy grandmasters? The value of their elixirs simply can't compare to the special drafts that you refine." Even Feng Haiteng, who had always been quiet and calm, spoke hesitantly. "Miss, this subordinate has seen it in an ancient book of the Feng clan. In fact, in the Yinwu continent, no one has ever succeeded in alchemy. The pills that we can see now are actually only half-finished products." You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.